I can still picture the day Jack strolled into my life like it was just yesterday. I was in a tiny cafe, sipping on their cheapest coffee and trying to sort out my thoughts. Then he walked in, looking like he stepped out of a movie scene. No fancy lights or music, just the jingle of the doorbell and the smell of stale coffee mingled with his aftershave. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked, flashing me a charming smile and pointing to the empty chair across from me. "Go ahead," I said, trying to play it cool despite my surprise at his sudden appearance. We hit it off right away, like two peas in a pod. We had the same interests, from binge-watching cheesy TV shows to arguing over the best pizza topping, pineapple, no doubt. Soon, we were serious about each other, not just casually hanging out. It felt like we had known each other forever. And before we knew it, marriage was on the table. But then came the tough part. Let me tell you, his parents were a handful. Meeting them for the first time was like stepping into a lion's den with a juicy steak strapped to my back. They had this way of smiling while silently judging you, deciding if you were up to par or not. "You're the one Jack can't stop talking about, huh?" his mom said, her tone more frosty than friendly. "Yep, that's me," I replied, trying my best not to let her intimidating aura get under my skin. His parents wasted no time in expressing their desire for us to sign a prenup. I wasn't interested in their money, but their approach left a sour taste in my mouth. "I'll sign your prenup," I told them. "But here's the catch. If one of us cheats, the cheater owes $200,000. Jack looked stunned, like I'd slapped him with a wet fish. "Babe, I'd never cheat on you," he insisted, his expression dead serious. "Yeah, well, my ex said the same thing before I caught him cheating," I shot back. It was either this deal or nothing. Jack eventually agreed, though his parents didn't seem too thrilled about it. We figured that settled the matter, but we were in for a surprise. One evening, we were cozied up on our old squeaky couch. We always talked about replacing it, but it held too many memories to let go. The TV droned on in the background, but we were too wrapped up in planning our dream trip to Switzerland. We knew it would stretch our budget thin, but we were determined to make it happen. Picture it, Jack. The food, the wine, the art. "We have to go," I exclaimed, excitement lighting up my eyes. Jack chuckled and pulled me closer. "Linda, you had me at food, but let's face it, our bank account is more suited for backyard camping than a fancy trip to Geneva." I nudged him teasingly. "Then we'll save up. We'll cut back on things we don't really need, like your video games." He feigned shock. "Not the video games. Take my shirts, my shoes, even my beloved coffee maker, but spare the games." We shared a laugh. That was us in a nutshell, dreaming big while staying grounded in our simple life. And we were content. Our happiness didn't just lie in grand adventures, it was also in the everyday moments, like Jack's attempts at cooking breakfast on Saturdays. He wasn't a culinary master, but he had somehow perfected scrambled eggs and toast, which he proudly served with his less-than-perfect coffee. "I'm feeling scrambled eggs today. What do you think?" he'd ask, already making his way to the kitchen. "Only if you promise not to burn the toast this time," I'd tease back, adding, "and I'm taking charge of the coffee." One day, as we tackled the dishes together, a mundane chore that felt special because we did it side by side, Jack broached a topic we'd been avoiding. "Linda, we need to talk about, starting a family," he said, breaking the comfortable silence. I paused, holding a plate in my hands. "I know it's just scary, isn't it? What if it doesn't happen for us?" Jack turned to me, drying his hands on a towel. "Then we'll face it together. But we won't know until we try, right? How hard can it be?" He chuckled, a mix of nerves and affection in his tone. Famous last words, huh? But that's us. Whatever life threw at us, we tackled it together. Even when his mom started dropping hints about wanting grandchildren every chance she got, we handled it. "Linda, dear, when are you going to give me some grandbabies? You're not getting any younger, she'd say, her tone sugary but her message clear as day. I'd hold my tongue, flash a smile, and chirp, "We're on it, right, Jack?" And he'd chime in, "Mom, chill out, okay? These things don't happen overnight." But as time passed, the pressure mounted. It wasn't just from his mom, but from us too. We longed for a family, but it wasn't falling into place as easily as we'd hoped. Since Sophia found a new hobby in making my life tough, our home felt like a war zone. her sharp words the main ammo. It all boiled over during one Sunday lunch meant to be serene and easygoing. Right on cue, Sophia barged in uninvited just as we were about to dig in. The atmosphere turned tense the moment she stepped in, her eyes scanning the room like she was inspecting a battleground. "Well, isn't this a quaint little setup?" she sneered, eyeing the modest meal I'd whipped up. "Quite the effort, Linda. Looks like you've been slaving away in the kitchen all morning, trying to keep the peace and mustered a smile. "It's nothing fancy, Sophia. Just something simple and quick. Please, take a seat." As we settled at the table, she launched into her usual spiel. "You know, Linda," Sophia began, her tone dripping with condescension, "I was chatting with Mrs. Charlotte the other day, and she mentioned how her grandson just became a dad. It got me thinking, when are you and Jack going to give me some good news? Time's ticking, you know." My cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and frustration. I glanced at Jack, hoping for some backup, but he suddenly seemed very engrossed in his meal. "Mom, seriously?" Jack finally mumbled, but it lacked conviction, and we all knew it. Undeterred, Sophia pressed on. "I hate to be blunt, but you're not getting any younger. You work hard for your money. Why waste it on Linda if she can't fulfill her basic duties as a wife? Hiring help for cleaning and cooking would be much more efficient, don't you think?" That was the last straw. "Sophia, I'm doing my best here," I blurted out. "It's not like I don't want kids. And as for the house and cooking, I didn't realize marriage came with a job description." Sophia scoffed. "Marriage isn't a free ride, Linda. You have responsibilities, and frankly, you're not meeting them." The air grew heavy with tension, and tears threatened to spill from my eyes. But what hurt the most wasn't Sophia's harsh words. It was Jack's silence. When he finally spoke, it wasn't in my defense. "Mom's right, maybe we should consider getting some extra help around here. It would take some weight off your shoulders too," he suggested. His words felt like a stab in the back. It was clear I was alone in this. In the days that followed, Sophia's visits became more frequent and her criticisms sharper. She'd scrutinize every corner of the house, pointing out any flaw. "You call this clean?" she'd sneer. "Looks like a pigsty to me." Then came the jabs about my appearance. "Is that what you're wearing? A wife should dress to please her husband. No wonder Jack seems exhausted. He comes home to this." I tried to stand up for myself. "Sophia, I dress for myself, not Jack. And he's tired because he works hard, not because of my outfit." But it was pointless. Sophia had made up her mind about me, and nothing I said seemed to make a difference. Jack's lack of support hit me the hardest. Every night after his mom's departure, we'd end up arguing. "Why won't you defend me, Jack? She's bulldozing over us, and you're just standing by." "Linda, she's set in her ways. What do you expect me to do? Kick my own mom out?" "No, but I expect you to be my partner, to stand with me, not her." It became evident that this went beyond Sophia's disapproval. It was about us, our marriage, and whether we could withstand the onslaught of Sophia's criticisms. As weeks passed, it dawned on me that this wasn't just a passing phase, it was a full-blown assault. If we didn't take action soon, there might not be anything left to salvage. Things between Jack and me had turned frosty ever since Sophia ramped up her criticisms. But it wasn't just our home life feeling the strain. Jack himself had started behaving oddly, and it wasn't solely because of work stress. There was something else, something unsettling. It all began with his phone. Jack used to be open about it, we had no secrets. But then he began leaving the room whenever he received a call. And it was always from the same person, Paul Work. One evening, I tried to sound nonchalant and asked, "Who's Paul Work?" Jack visibly tensed up, a clear sign of nervousness. "Oh, just a new guy at the office. Asks a lot of questions," he replied. But there were more changes. Jack, who never cared much about fashion, suddenly started paying attention to his appearance. The graphic tees and worn-out jeans disappeared, replaced by crisp shirts, slacks, and even cologne. "Since when did you start smelling like a department store?" I teased one morning, watching him style his hair differently. He just smirked. "Can't a guy mix things up every once in a while? No harm in that, right?" Then there were the late nights at work, becoming more frequent. "Another long one, babe," he texted. "Sorry, this project is a killer. I'll be home soon, I promise," he reassured, but it would be well past midnight before I heard his keys jingle in the door. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It lingered like a shadow. That's when I made the decision to hire a private investigator. It felt like a scene from a cheesy TV show, but I needed to know for certain. The evidence arrived in a plain brown envelope. Heartbreaking yet undeniable. Photos of Jack with another woman, their intimacy unmistakable, captured in moments that shattered our years together. But it was the recording that cut the deepest. Their conversations filled with affection and plans made it painfully clear. He was in love with her, or at least with someone else. I sat there, staring at the damning evidence before me, a chilling reality sinking in. This could be the key I needed if our marriage spiraled into a messy divorce. The photos captured stolen moments from our life together, while the recorded words betrayed every "I love you" he ever whispered in my ear. But I kept it all to myself, a heavy burden I chose to carry alone. I wasn't ready to confront him, not yet. I needed time to strategize, to navigate the collapse of our marriage while preserving my dignity. The days that followed passed in a blur. Jack maintained his facade, and I played the part of the dutiful wife, smiling outwardly while crumbling inside. Our conversations became a delicate dance around the truth, each word carefully chosen, every laugh forced. "Are you okay?" Jack would inquire, genuine concern lacing his voice. "Yeah, just tired, you know. Work's been hectic," I'd respond, the lie bitter on my tongue. It seemed like just another ordinary day until I accidentally overheard a conversation that would change everything. As I passed by Jack's office, the door slightly ajar, their voices drifted out. It was Jack and his mother, Sophia, and their conversation wasn't casual. Their tones were serious, filled with purpose. "I can't keep this up, Mom. It's not just about having kids anymore. I don't feel the same way about Linda. It's like we're living together as strangers, not as a married couple," Jack admitted, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Sophia's reply was cutting. "Well, can you blame yourself? She hasn't given you a child. And what else has she really brought to this marriage? But let's not be hasty. My 65th birthday is approaching, and we wouldn't want to miss out on a generous gift from her, would we?" Her cynicism felt like a stab in the heart. They were using me, planning to keep me around just long enough to benefit from a lavish birthday present before discarding me. "Exactly, dear. Just a bit longer," Sophia affirmed, her words dripping with malice. I stood there, stunned and furious. They were plotting to push me out of the family as effortlessly as crossing off an item on a shopping list. The pain ran deep, but it fueled a burning desire for vengeance within me. They thought they could manipulate me and discard me at their convenience. I was determined to prove that I wasn't just a pawn in their twisted game. A few days later, we gathered for a family dinner that felt more like a scripted performance than a meal. Sophia brought up her impending birthday with a smile that made my stomach churn. Leaning in, she asked, "So, Linda dear, what do you have planned for my birthday? Something special, I hope." I met her gaze calmly. "Actually, Sophia, I've been thinking of arranging a dinner at the city's most luxurious restaurant, an unforgettable evening." Her eyes gleamed with anticipation, and she exchanged a satisfied glance with Jack. They believed they had me cornered, but they didn't realize I was already 2 steps ahead. "Oh, Linda, that sounds lovely. Just close family, you know, keep it intimate," Sophia cooed, her voice oozing with insincerity. "Absolutely, Sophia. We'll make it a memorable occasion," I replied, the words leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. The weeks leading up to Sophia's 65th birthday felt like a slow march towards a reckoning. Every smirk from her and every indifferent nod from Jack fueled my resolve. My plan was straightforward yet daring. Orchestrate a lavish dinner as a supposed gesture of affection, then unveil a monumental surprise. As with all well-laid plans, the devil was in the details. The night before the party, our home crackled with tension. Jack, oblivious to the storm brewing, lounged casually on the couch, absorbed in his phone. "Everything ready for tomorrow?" he inquired, still glued to the screen. "You could say that," I replied, my voice masking the turmoil within. The day arrived, and as guests streamed into the opulent dining room we had reserved for Sophia's celebration, anticipation hung heavy in the air. My pulse quickened, not from nerves, but from the excitement of what was to come. Sophia, relishing the spotlight, luxuriated in the grandeur of her surroundings. "Oh, Linda, you've truly outdone yourself. This place is divine," she proclaimed loudly enough for neighboring tables to hear. As we settled in, the evening unfolded with a peculiar cheer typical of family gatherings. Laughter rang out, stories were shared. Then, as the dessert plates were whisked away, the waiter approached with the climax of the evening. The bill. He leaned in discreetly and murmured the staggering dinner costs. $66,000. I handed over my credit card, my action going unnoticed by most. Then, with a strained smirk, Jack decided to drop his bombshell. Linda, it's time for the truth. I'm done with this, with us. I want a divorce. His words hung heavily in the air, suffocating the room. Before I could fully process his announcement, Sophia, sharp and unyielding, interjected. Well then, now that's out in the open, it's best you leave, Linda. Tonight is about family, and well, you're no longer part of ours. The room fell into a hushed silence, every gaze fixed on me, awaiting my response. But I refused to crumble. With a composure I didn't truly feel, I rose from my seat, nodded, and departed without a word. The chill of the night air slapped against my skin as I made my way home, the weight of finality crashing over me in waves. By the time I reached Arno's apartment, I had a plan. I gathered my essentials, my numbness morphing into steely determination. This was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. As I sealed my last suitcase, my phone buzzed incessantly. Initially, I ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me, and Sophia's voice erupted from the other end. Linda, the payment didn't go through. You need to fix this right away, Sophia's voice demanded. The irony was bittersweet. In my preparations, I had blocked access to the shared account, anticipating it would be Jack's first move. Oh, Sophia, what a shame. But since I'm no longer considered part of the family, as you've made abundantly clear, I'm afraid you'll have to handle this matter on your own. Her indignation crackled through the phone, but it was a symphony to my ears. The ensuing chaos was a fitting conclusion to the charade my marriage had become. I heard tales of the restaurant staff demanding payment, Sophia's escalating fits, and eventually the police being called to defuse the situation she had incited. In the end, it was Jack and his kin who scrambled to settle the bill. A poetic retribution for the betrayal and indignity they had subjected me to. The morning after the dinner felt like emerging from a tempest. Armed with my plan, my determination, and a stack of divorce papers in hand, I returned to what once was our shared abode for the final time. The atmosphere was tense, palpable, as if it could be sliced with a blade. Jack and Sophia stood there, seemingly embroiled in a heated exchange. Their animosity toward me seemed to merge into a unified front of fury upon my arrival. You've got some nerve showing your face here after last night, Jack spat, his features twisted in a mixture of anger and disbelief. Quick to echo his sentiment, Sophia hurled her own barbs. Ingrate, you've brought shame upon us in front of the entire city. Do you comprehend the humiliation of having the police summoned on account of your actions? People were laughing, filming. I met their fury with a composure I hardly felt. Shame? Is that your primary concern right now? I retorted, tossing the divorce papers onto the table, placing the incriminating photos of Jack's infidelity atop them. Perhaps you should direct your attention to this instead. Jack's complexion drained of color as he picked up the damning photographs, with his mother looming over his shoulder. Their rage dissolved into shock, then morphed into panic as they comprehended the gravity of the situation. And let's not overlook the prenup, shall we? I pressed on, my voice unwavering. You stray, you pay, precisely $200,000. Sophia's features contorted into a snarl. You wouldn't dare. You can't do this to us. Oh, but I can, and I will, I retorted, my voice devoid of warmth, resolute in my decision. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Jack altered his approach. Please, let's discuss this. We can find a solution. I couldn't suppress a bitter, mirthless laugh. Find a solution? You think a few words can undo everything? No, Jack, it's over. Sophia, ever the master manipulator, attempted to soften her stance, her tone dripping with false concern. Linda, darling, think about what you're doing. This will destroy us. That ship has sailed, Sophia. You should have considered that before. Their pleas shifted to desperate entreaties, their words a frantic attempt to salvage whatever remained. But my mind was resolute. I was done playing the victim, done with their deceit and manipulation. In the end, Jack had no recourse but to borrow money from his parents to settle with me. As I departed from that house for the final time, check in hand, I felt a burden lift from my shoulders. After all that transpired, I was finally liberated. I used the money from Jack to secure a down payment on a modest yet snug abode of my own. It's remarkable how much tranquility you can find in a residence that's solely yours, where each nook feels like a sanctuary away from the tumult of the past. Life is calmer now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I have a job that keeps me occupied, amiable neighbors who offer nods and smiles, and a petite garden that's entirely mine to tend to. Occasionally, I catch wind of gossip concerning Jack and Sophia. Just the other day, while grabbing coffee from the local spot frequented by the community, I bumped into an acquaintance from the old neighborhood. After some polite chit-chat, they leaned in, lowering their voice, and whispered, "Hey, have you heard the latest scoop about your ex and his mom?" Their eyes gleamed with intrigue. I arched an eyebrow, intrigued yet detached. "Can't say that I have." "Do share." They seemed to relish divulging the news. Apparently, Sophia isn't too thrilled with Jack's new girlfriend. Rumor has it they're quarreling like there's no tomorrow. Puts your situation in a whole new light. We moved on from the topic, but as I strolled away with my coffee, I felt a profound sense of relief. There was a time when such news would have unsettled me, but now it's simply another chapter in someone else's tale. These days, my greatest worries revolve around whether my tomatoes will ripen before the squirrels snatch them, or if I'll ever master yoga without resembling a newborn deer on ice. Life is simpler, quieter, and considerably sweeter on this side of the chaos.
The perfect daughter stands at the podium, her voice steady and clear as she delivers her valedictorian speech. My sister Megan, the golden child, speaking about dreams and potential while I grip the edges of my metal folding chair, fighting the wave of nausea that's been my constant companion for weeks. I'm Aubrey, the family disappointment, and I'm about to ruin my sister's perfect moment. The late May heat presses down on the football field where hundreds of parents and students sit in neat rows. Everything about this graduation ceremony screams control and order, exactly how my father, the college administrator, likes it. He's beaming from his place of honor on stage, watching Megan weave her carefully crafted words about future success and family values. My stomach lurches again. I shouldn't have come, but missing my sister's graduation would have given my father another reason to compare us. "Why can't you be more like Megan?" The words echo in my head as bile rises in my throat. "Are you okay?" Tom whispers from beside me. "You look pale." I try to nod, but the motion makes the world tilt. The pregnancy test hidden in my desk drawer flashes through my mind, both of them actually. Double positive, double trouble. Megan's voice carries across the field. And so, as we stand on the threshold of our futures, I'm going to throw up. Right here, right now, in front of everyone. I stumble to my feet, drawing sharp looks from nearby parents. My mother's eyes find me from her front row seat, her face tightening with familiar disappointment. "Aubrey." Tom reaches for my arm, but I'm already moving. I make it 3 steps before my knees buckle. The world spins, voices blur together, and then I'm falling. The last thing I see before everything goes black is my father's face. Not concerned, but angry. Always angry. When I come to, I'm lying on a cot in the nurse's office. The vinyl covering crackles as I shift, and the smell of antiseptic makes my stomach roll again. "What were you thinking?" My father's voice cuts through the fog. He's standing by the door, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "You couldn't even let your sister have one day?" "Robert," my mother says softly, but there's no real protest in her tone. "I'm sorry," I whisper, though I'm not sure what I'm apologizing for. Fainting, being pregnant, or simply existing. "The nurse wants to run some tests," my father continues, his words precise and controlled. "Care to tell us what she might find?" The moment stretches between us like a rubber band about to snap. In my head, I see the next few minutes play out. The revelation, the shock, the inevitable explosion of rage and disappointment. My father's carefully constructed image of our perfect family crumbling because his youngest daughter got knocked up at 19. "I'm pregnant," I say, and the words hang in the air like smoke. My mother makes a small sound, not quite a gasp, not quite a sob. My father's face goes completely still, the way it does right before he explodes. "Who knows?" he demands. "Just Tom. And Ethan, the father, I swallow hard. "He doesn't want anything to do with it." "Of course he doesn't," my father snaps. This ends now. We'll make arrangements. No. The word comes out stronger than I expected. This isn't a discussion, Aubrey. You will not destroy everything we've built. Everything your sister has worked for. I sit up slowly, the room swaying slightly. I'm keeping it. The hell you are. He steps closer, looming over me. You're barely more than a child yourself. You have no job, no degree, no future. You will do as I say. Looking into his eyes, I see something I've never noticed before. Fear. Not for me, but for himself. For his reputation, his control, his perfect family facade. No, I say again. And in that moment, something shifts inside me. A seed of resistance taking root, growing stronger with each beat of my heart. I won't. His face darkens, and I know what's coming next will change everything. But for the first time in my life, I'm ready for the storm. The drive home feels like a funeral procession. My father's Mercedes leads the way, my mother silent beside him. I'm in the back of Tom's beaten-up Honda, watching the familiar streets blur past, each turn bringing us closer to the confrontation I know is coming. I can turn around, Tom says quietly. We could just drive. Keep going until we hit the coast. The offer tempts me more than I want to admit, but running won't solve anything. I learned that lesson watching my Aunt Clara disappear from our lives years ago, leaving nothing but whispered accusations and my father's rage in her wake. Our house looms ahead, all perfect angles and manicured lawns, a prison disguised as a home. Tom pulls up to the curb, and I catch my sister's car already parked in the driveway. Of course, Megan would be here. She's probably already planning damage control. You don't have to do this alone, Tom says. Yes, I do. I squeeze his hand once before stepping out into the evening air. Inside, voices drift from my father's study. I pause in the hallway, my hand resting unconsciously on my still flat stomach. She's always been difficult, my mother's voice, strained and tired. But this ends tonight. My father's tone leaves no room for argument. I won't have her destroy everything we've built. Maybe if we just... Megan starts. Enough! A sharp crack, his hand hitting his desk. Your sister has made her choice. Now she'll face the consequences. I step into the doorway, forcing myself to stand straight despite the nausea still lurking at the edges of my consciousness. Don't I get a say in those consequences? 3 heads snap toward me. My father behind his massive desk, my mother perched on the leather sofa, and Megan standing by the window, a perfect family portrait about to shatter. You lost that right when you decided to throw away your future, my father says. Do you have any idea what this will do to our reputation, to your sister's career prospects? My career prospects? Megan's voice cracks slightly. Dad, that's not... Of course it is, he cuts her off. Everything we've worked for, everything we've sacrificed to maintain our standing in this community. And you? He turns back to me. You just had to play the rebel. Couldn't stand seeing your sister succeed, could you? The accusation hits harder than I expect. This has nothing to do with Megan. Everything in this family has to do with everyone in this family, he snaps. Your mother and I have already made the arrangements. Dr. Phillips owes me a favor. This can all be handled quietly, and we can put this unfortunate incident behind us. No. The word comes out steady, surprising even me. This isn't a discussion, Aubrey. You're right, I say. It's not, because this isn't your choice to make. My mother finally speaks, her voice soft but sharp. You're 19, living under our roof, dependent on our support. What exactly do you think your options are? I'll leave. The words taste like freedom and terror mixed together. And go where? My father laughs, but there's no humor in it. To that boy's house? The one who couldn't even face us today? Robert, my mother warns, but he's building steam now. Or maybe to your Aunt Clara? Following in her footsteps of poor decisions and burned bridges? Something in his tone makes me pause. There's more there. Something raw and personal in the way he spits out Aunt Clara's name. I file it away for later examination. I'll figure it out, I say. But I'm keeping this baby. Then you'll do it without our support. He stands, towering over his desk. No money, no car, no college fund, nothing. Dad, please. Megan steps forward, but he silences her with a look. You have until morning to pack your things, he continues. After that, you're no longer welcome in this house. My mother makes a small sound, quickly stifled. Megan's face has gone pale, her perfect composure cracking around the edges. And in that moment, I see them all clearly. Puppets dancing to my father's tune, too afraid or too broken to cut their strings. Fine, I say, and turn to leave. But at the doorway, I stop. You know what's funny? You're so worried about your reputation, about what people will think. But at least I'm honest about my mistakes. What about yours? I don't wait for his response. As I climb the stairs to my room, I hear the first cracks forming in their perfect facade. My mother's muffled sob, Megan's raised voice, my father's sharp commands for silence. Tomorrow, I'll be gone. But I'm starting to realize that leaving might just be the beginning of something much bigger than a teenage pregnancy scandal. Dr. Phillips's office smells like artificial lavender and judgment. The pamphlets on the coffee table mock me with their cheerful fonts and sanitized language about options and choices. My mother sits 3 chairs away, her spine rigid, checking her watch every 30 seconds as if she could speed time through sheer will. Aubrey Thompson? The nurse's voice carries across the waiting room. I stand, my legs shaking. My mother rises too, but I hold up my hand. I'm going alone. Don't be difficult, she whispers, but I'm already following the nurse down the sterile hallway. Dr. Phillips looks exactly like someone my father would know. Expensive watch, practiced smile, the kind of confidence that comes from never having your authority questioned. He gestures to the examination chair while reviewing my chart. So we're looking at approximately 8 weeks, he says, not really a question. Robert explained the situation. We can take care of this quickly and discreetly. I want to know about the risks. He looks up, surprised. The procedure is very safe. We can have you back home by... All the risks, I interrupt. Long-term complications, future fertility, everything. Something flickers across his face. Annoyance, maybe respect. He sets down the chart. There's always a small chance of complications. In rare cases, scarring can affect future fertility, but given your situation... What situation? My father's reputation? The doctor's carefully neutral expression cracks slightly. Your father is concerned about your future. Sometimes we need to make difficult choices to protect... To protect what? My voice rises. The family name? His position at the college? Tell me, Dr. Phillips, how many other girls has my father sent to you for discreet solutions? His silence tells me everything. I'm not having the procedure, I say, standing. And I think maybe the medical board would be interested in knowing about your arrangement with my father. Miss Thompson. His tone hardens. Think carefully about what you're doing. Your father has influenced a lot of careers in this town, including mine. But he's also ended them. The threat hangs between us, and suddenly I understand exactly how my father maintains his perfect world. How many lives has he shaped or destroyed with his influence? How many secrets are buried under his carefully maintained reputation? I leave without another word, ignoring my mother's questions as I walk straight out of the clinic. The summer air hits me like a wall, and I gulp it down, fighting nausea that has nothing to do with pregnancy. My phone buzzes. A text from Megan. Where are you? Dad's furious. Another buzz. Aunt Clara called the house. Dad lost it. Something about James? My fingers freeze over the screen. James. A name I've never heard before, but it made my father lose control? I save the message just as Tom's car pulls up. You okay? He asks as I slide into the passenger seat. Drive to Aunt Clara's. Your parents won't look for me there. They haven't spoken to her in years. I punch her address into his GPS, the one my mother thought I didn't know about, carefully preserved in an old address book hidden in her desk. What happened in there? I stare out the window, watching the familiar streets of our town transform into unknown territory. I think I just discovered that Dr. Phillips isn't the only one keeping my father's secrets. Aubrey. Tom's voice is careful. Are you sure you want to pull this thread? Some secrets stay buried for a reason. Like James? The name feels significant on my tongue, though I don't know why. Who's James? I don't know, but my father's reaction to his name tells me he's important. I rest my hand on my stomach, feeling a new kind of strength growing inside me, and Aunt Clara knows why. We turn onto a quiet street lined with modest houses, nothing like my father's carefully maintained mansion. Tom pulls up to a small blue house with wild roses climbing the porch. "Whatever you find out," he says, "it's going to change things. Are you ready for that?" I look at the house, thinking about secrets and lies, about power and control, about the way my father's perfectly constructed world is built on other people's silence. "Yes," I say, opening the car door. "I'm ready to tear it all down." The porch steps creak under my feet as I approach the door, each step taking me further from the life I knew and closer to whatever truth waits behind Aunt Clara's door. I raise my hand to knock, and in that moment, I feel something shift inside me. Not just the baby, but something deeper. Something that tastes like justice. Aunt Clara's kitchen table holds more truth than my father's entire house. The morning light streams through unwashed windows, illuminating a stack of old photographs and newspaper clippings spread before me. My hands shake as I pick up a yellowed hospital record. "James Thompson," I read aloud. "Born with spina bifida, given up for adoption." The date makes my stomach clench. Exactly 25 years ago. "Your father made that decision alone," Aunt Clara says, pouring more coffee into my untouched cup. "Linda was still sedated when he signed the papers. But she never fought it? By the time she found out, Robert had convinced everyone it was for the best. A clean break, he called it." Clara's mouth twists. "Nothing clean about abandoning your child." My phone buzzes again. Another message from Megan. I've been ignoring them all morning, but this one catches my eye. "Dad's calling an emergency family meeting. Says he knows where you are. Please come home." "He can't force me back," I say, more to myself than Clara. "No, but he can make life very difficult." She slides a business card across the table. "James Harrison, that's the name he goes by now. He's giving a speech at the medical conference next month. Your father's conference." The irony hits like a punch to the gut. My perfect, controlling father who threw away his firstborn son will be sitting in the audience while that same son delivers the keynote address on pediatric surgery. Does James know about them? No. Clara's eyes hold something I can't quite read. But maybe he should. A knock at the door makes us both jump. Tom appears in the kitchen doorway, his face tight with worry. "Aubrey, you need to see this." He holds out his phone, showing me a social media post from Megan. It's a carefully worded announcement about her new job at the college, working directly under our father. The comments are full of congratulations, praising the Thompson family legacy. "She's choosing his side," I whisper. "She's choosing survival," Clara corrects. "Just like I did once. Just like your mother still does." Another message pops up, this one from an unknown number. My heart stops when I open it. It's a photo of me entering the abortion clinic yesterday, clearly taken without my knowledge. The caption reads, "What would the board think about Dr. Phillips's special arrangements?" "He's threatening me," I say, showing them the message. Tom's jaw tightens. "We should go to the police." "With what? My father owns half this town." The realization hits me hard. "That's why you left, isn't it, Clara? You knew something." She doesn't answer immediately, instead walking to a locked drawer in her desk. The key shakes slightly in her hand as she removes a thick manila envelope. "I kept records," she says finally. "Of everything. Every girl your father sent to Phillips, every career he destroyed, every favor called in, including what really happened with James. Why didn't you use them?" "Because exposure would hurt more than just Robert. All those girls, those families, they've built new lives. Some secrets protect the innocent as much as the guilty." She places the envelope in front of me. "But maybe it's time for the right truth to come out." I stare at the envelope, feeling the weight of lives and lies pressing down on me. Through the window, I can see my father's Mercedes pulling up to the curb. "He's here," Tom says quietly. "Good." I stand, one hand on my stomach, the other gripping the envelope. "Let him come." "Aubrey," Clara's voice stops me. "Remember, revenge and justice aren't always the same thing." I look at the envelope, then at the photo of James speaking at a medical conference. Successful, whole, everything my father tried to throw away. In that moment, I realize what I have to do. "No," I agree. "Sometimes justice is better." The doorbell rings, its cheerful chime at odds with the tension filling the room. I take a deep breath, feeling my child move within me. Another life my father wanted to erase. But this time, the choice isn't his to make. I head for the door, the envelope secure in my hands, ready to face whatever comes next. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone's perfect world, it's forcing them to face the truth they've spent a lifetime burying. The medical conference program feels heavy in my hands. James Harrison's photo stares back at me. My father's abandoned son, now a celebrated pediatric surgeon. 3 weeks of planning have led to this moment, watching the conference center fill with doctors, administrators, and my father's carefully cultivated network of influence. He's arriving in 10 minutes, Tom says, checking his phone. Security confirmed it. I adjust my visitor's badge, conscious of my growing belly beneath the loose blazer. 4 months pregnant, and already my body betrays secrets I'm not ready to share. Aubrey? Megan's voice makes me freeze. She stands at the entrance to the conference hall, wearing the same expression she used when covering for my teenage rebellions. Dad knows you're here. Good. I hold up the manila envelope from Clara. He should be here for this. You don't understand. Ethan's here too. The name hits like ice water. What? Dad hired him. He's working security. She steps closer, lowering her voice. He knows things, Aubrey, about the baby. My hand instinctively moves to my stomach. Ethan abandoned me the moment I told him about the pregnancy, but of course my father would find a way to weaponize him. Dr. Harrison is entering the building, crackles over the security radio at a nearby guard's belt. Time slows. Through the glass doors, I see James for the first time in person. He walks with a slight limp, the only visible sign of the condition my father deemed unworthy of the Thompson name. Behind him, I spot Ethan in a security uniform, speaking into his radio. Whatever you're planning, Megan whispers. It's not too late to stop. Actually, it is. I pull out my phone, sending the pre-written email to every board member and local news outlet. Because I just sent proof of Dad's arrangement with Dr. Phillips. And in about 30 seconds, James is going to learn who really signed his adoption papers. Megan's face drains of color. You'll destroy everything. No, Dad did that 25 years ago when he threw away his son. The conference hall doors open. James enters, surrounded by admiring colleagues. My father appears from another doorway, his practiced smile faltering when he sees me. Security, he snaps, but Ethan hesitates, looking between us. Sir, Ethan starts. Maybe we should... Now! I step forward, envelope in hand. Hello, James? Or should I say, brother? The room goes silent. James turns, confusion crossing his face. My father moves with surprising speed, but Tom steps between us. Miss Thompson, a security guard approaches. You need to leave. Not before he sees these. I open the envelope, pulling out the adoption papers with my father's signature. 25 years ago, Robert Thompson signed away his firstborn son because he was born with spina bifida, a son who grew up to become one of the country's leading pediatric surgeons. James takes the papers with trembling hands. My father's face contorts with a rage I've never seen before. You ungrateful! He starts toward me, but Megan suddenly moves to my side. It's true, she says, her voice carrying across the stunned audience. I found the papers in Mom's desk years ago. Phones are out now, recording everything. James stares at the documents, then at our father, his professional composure cracking. Robert Thompson is your biological father, I continue, my voice steady despite my racing heart. He abandoned you without your mother's consent, just like he tried to force me to abort my baby to protect his precious reputation. You're lying, James whispers, but his eyes say he knows it's true. My phone buzzes. News alerts about Dr. Phillips's illegal arrangements with the college administrator. My father's carefully constructed world beginning to crumble. I can explain, my father starts, but James cuts him off. Explain what? How you threw away a child because he wasn't perfect? How you're still doing it? Ethan steps forward, removing his security earpiece. Sir, I won't help you hurt her again. The room erupts in whispers. My father's network watching his control slip away. But as I look at James's devastated face, at Megan's tears, at the pain rippling through our broken family, I realize revenge tastes different than I imagined. I didn't do this for revenge, I say, loud enough for everyone to hear. I did it because some truths need to be told, some lies need to end. My father lunges for the papers in James's hands, but it's too late. The truth, like the child growing inside me, has a life of its own now, and neither of us can be silenced anymore. The college board meeting room feels like a tomb. My father sits at the head of the table, his lawyer whispering in his ear while board members shuffle papers and avoid eye contact. The local news vans outside cast long shadows through the windows. I'm not supposed to be here, but Megan's employee badge got me through security. My sister, now suspended from her position pending investigation, stands in the corner, her perfect posture finally cracking under the weight of everything we've lost. The board calls Dr. James Harrison, the chairman announces. James enters, walking past me without a glance. Since the conference, he's refused to speak to any of us. I don't blame him. Finding out your biological father abandoned you is one thing. Learning your sister used that truth as a weapon is another. Dr. Harrison, my father's lawyer begins, regarding the allegations made about your adoption. They're not allegations. James's voice cuts through the formal atmosphere. I've confirmed everything through hospital records. Robert Thompson is my biological father, and he abandoned me without my mother's consent. My father doesn't flinch, but his knuckles whiten against the polished table. Miss Thompson, the chairman turns to me. Your evidence regarding Dr. Phillips's arrangements, we need to discuss. The boardroom door bursts open. My mother storms in, clutching a familiar manila envelope. My stomach drops. Not the copy I gave James, but the original from Aunt Clara's desk. Linda, my father warns, but she's already speaking. These records, she says, her voice trembling, they're not complete. Clara didn't just keep evidence about Robert's arrangements. She kept everything. The room goes silent. My mother pulls out a document I've never seen before, including proof that she's James's real mother. The world tilts. James stands so quickly his chair crashes backward. What? Clara Thompson is your biological mother, my mother continues. Robert forced her to give you up, threatened to expose her relationship with a married doctor. He used you to control her, just like he's tried to control all of us. My father's mask finally cracks. You had no right. I had every right! My mother's voice rises. 25 years of secrets, of watching you destroy lives to maintain your precious reputation. And now our daughters. That's enough. My father stands. This meeting is over. No, James says quietly. It's not. Because I'm pressing charges. Against all of you. The word hits like a physical blow. James, I never meant... To what? Use me for revenge? Destroy my life to punish him? He gestures at our father. You're all the same. Playing games with people's lives. Thinking you get to decide what truth deserves to be told. Megan steps forward. We were trying to help. Help? James laughs bitterly. I had a life, a career, parents who chose me. Now what do I have? A biological father who threw me away, an aunt who's actually my mother, and a sister who used my trauma for her own vendetta. The board members whisper among themselves. My father's lawyer scribbles furiously, and I stand there, feeling my carefully constructed plan crumbling around me. The district attorney's office will be in touch, James says, turning to leave. With all of you. As he walks out, I catch a glimpse of Aunt Clara in the hallway, her face pale and drawn. Our eyes meet briefly before she turns away, following her son into the shadows of truths I never should have unearthed. Well, my father says into the silence, his voice steady again. It seems my daughter's quest for justice has backfired rather spectacularly. He's right. In trying to expose his secrets, I've destroyed more than just his reputation. I've shattered James's life, betrayed Aunt Clara's trust, cost Megan her career, and now face potential legal consequences that could affect my unborn child's future. The baby kicks, as if sensing my despair. Tom's words echo in my head. Sometimes revenge hurts the avenger more than the target. I leave the boardroom without another word, walking past the news vans and reporters, past the familiar buildings where my father once reigned supreme. The truth is out now, but it's not the cleansing fire I imagined. Instead, it's a poison that's touched everyone I meant to protect. In the parking lot, I spot James helping Aunt Clara into his car. They drive away without looking back, leaving me alone with the realization that in my quest for justice, I've become exactly what I hated. Someone who sacrifices others for their own agenda. The worst part isn't the potential charges, or the family I've destroyed. It's knowing that somewhere in this wreckage, I lost sight of who I wanted to be. The courthouse steps are crowded with reporters when my father emerges from his hearing. His lawyer shields him from cameras while flashbulbs capture his fallen empire. The great Robert Thompson, facing criminal charges for decades of manipulation and corruption. I watch from across the street, one hand on my swollen belly, the other clutching James's latest press statement. He's become the face of medical ethics reform, turning his pain into purpose, unlike me. Ready? Tom asks beside me. Before I can answer, Aunt Clara's car pulls up. She steps out, looking older than her 42 years, and walks straight toward my father. The reporters surge forward, sensing blood in the water. "Robert!" Her voice carries across the chaos. "We need to talk." My father tries to push past, but she grabs his arm. "About Mother's Trust Fund." He freezes. Even from here, I see the color drain from his face. "Not here," he hisses. "Yes, here." She turns to the cameras. "Should I tell them how you really paid for James's adoption? About the money you stole?" I move without thinking, crossing the street. Tom calls after me, but I'm already caught in the gravity of this moment. "What trust fund?" I ask, stepping into the circle of cameras. My father's mask cracks. "Aubrey, leave. Your grandmother left everything to Clara." My mother's voice comes from behind me. She emerges from the courthouse looking straight at her husband. But Robert convinced the lawyers she was unstable after her affair, had everything transferred to him instead. "You used my inheritance to pay for my own adoption?" Clara's laugh is bitter. "To buy my silence?" The reporter's questions become a roar. My father's lawyer tries to intervene, but it's too late. "I protected this family!" My father shouts suddenly. "Everything I did was to maintain order, to preserve our name. By destroying everyone who didn't fit your perfect image?" I step closer. "James? Clara? Me? You ungrateful!" He lunges forward, but someone catches his arm. "James." "That's enough, Father." The word drips with contempt. The board of directors just voted. The medical center is launching a full investigation into every adoption you facilitated through Dr. Phillips. My father's composure shatters completely. "You can't..." "Actually, I can, as the new head of ethics oversight." James turns to Clara, to his mother. "With full support from the district attorney's office." The cameras capture everything. My father's defeat, Clara's tears, James's quiet strength. But it's my mother who delivers the final blow. "I've filed for divorce," she announces, "and I'm testifying about everything." My father lunges again, this time at my mother. I step between them instinctively, protecting her the way she never protected me. He pulls back at the last second, his hand frozen in midair, finally seeing what he's become. "You're just like him," he spits at me. "Using people's secrets as weapons, destroying lives for revenge." The words hit home, but not in the way he expects. Because he's right, I did become like him, and that's why this has to end differently. "No," I say quietly. "I'm choosing to be better. That's why I'm dropping the charges against you." The reporters fall silent. James and Clara turn to stare at me. "What?" my father whispers. "I'm having a daughter," I tell him. "And I won't teach her that revenge heals anything. The truth is out now. What happens next isn't about destroying you. It's about rebuilding everything you broke." I turn to James and Clara, starting with our real family. My father stands alone on the courthouse steps, surrounded by cameras but finally stripped of his power to control the narrative. The truth has done what revenge never could. Set us all free. "Let's go home," I say to no one in particular, and everyone who matters follows. James, Clara, my mother, Megan, Tom. We leave my father to face the consequences of his own choices, not our vengeance. As we walk away, my daughter kicks, and I understand finally what Clara meant about some secrets protecting the innocent. The biggest secret was one I kept from myself. That healing comes not from revenge, but from the courage to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. Clara's garden blooms with late summer roses as I watch James teach my daughter to walk. Her tiny hands grip his fingers while she toddles across the uneven ground, his patience matching her determination. The sight makes my chest ache with something between joy and regret. She has your stubbornness, Megan says, settling beside me on the porch steps. She's different now, softer around the edges, but stronger at her core. The job she found at a women's shelter suits her better than our father's carefully planned career ever did. And your grace, I reply, watching my daughter's careful steps. The screen door creaks behind us. My mother emerges with lemonade, her wedding ring notably absent. The divorce papers arrived yesterday, along with news of my father's plea deal. House arrest instead of prison, his empire reduced to a monitored existence in the same mansion he once ruled. Ethan called again. My mother says quietly, I know. I touch my phone through my pocket, feeling the weight of his unread messages. He wants to meet his daughter, claims he's changed. Maybe he has, but some bridges stay burned. James scoops up my giggling daughter, his slight limp more pronounced after a long day. Someone's ready for her nap, he calls, heading toward us. I'll take her, Clara offers, appearing from her garden. She meets James's eyes, mother and son still navigating their complicated truth. He hands over my daughter with a small smile, their shared features obvious now that we know to look for them. The ethics board approved the new oversight committee, James tells me as Clara disappears inside. We're implementing screening procedures for all adoption cases. No more secret arrangements. And Dr. Phillips? Lost his license. He's cooperating with the investigation. Tom's truck pulls into the driveway, his son Noah waving from the passenger seat. They've become regular fixtures here, helping Clara with house repairs, joining our makeshift Sunday dinners, building something new from the ashes of what burned. Dad asked about you, Megan says suddenly. He wanted to know if you'd bring the baby to see him. The old anger flares, but it's duller now, more like an old scar than an open wound. What did you tell him? That it's not my decision to make. She picks at a loose thread on her sleeve. He's different now, smaller. Sometimes smaller is better, my mother observes. Means there's room to grow. Inside, I hear my daughter's laughter mixing with Clara's soft singing. The sound draws me up, pulling me toward the door, but I pause at the threshold. I got another letter from the support group, I tell them. 3 more families have come forward about forced adoptions. They're asking for help navigating reunions. Are you going to help them? James asks. I think about revenge and justice, about how thin the line between them can be, about my daughter, who will grow up knowing all her family's truths, the beautiful and the ugly ones. Yes, I decide, but not for revenge, for healing. The afternoon light catches the roses, making them glow like tiny flames. Tom and Noah join us on the porch, fitting seamlessly into our patchwork family. My mother pours more lemonade, her hands steady now that she's free. Megan leans against the railing, finally comfortable in her own skin. James watches Clara through the window, their shared pain slowly transforming into understanding. And I stand in the doorway between past and future, knowing that some secrets need to stay buried, while others need the light to heal. My father's perfect world had to burn so something real could grow in its place. My daughter's cry draws me inside, not urgent, but demanding. As I lift her from Clara's arms, she grabs my necklace, the one containing a small photo of all of us at her christening. Her family. Not perfect, not unbroken, but real. Tell me again, she'll ask someday, about how our family found each other. And I'll tell her about revenge that turned to redemption, about secrets that became strength, about how sometimes you have to tear everything down to build something true. But mostly, I'll tell her about love, the kind that survives fire and grows back stronger in broken places. Because that's the secret I finally learned. Revenge burns everything, but truth plants gardens.
I stand in front of the mirror, adjusting the black dress that belonged to my mother before she became someone I barely recognize. The fabric feels like a stranger's skin against mine, just like this whole evening feels like a carefully orchestrated lie. My name is Morgan, and tonight I'm supposed to play the role of the happy daughter at my mother's engagement party. The invitation arrived 3 days ago, wrapped in cream-colored paper that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. No prior warning. No family discussion. Just a fancy piece of paper announcing that Grace Carter would become Grace Mitchell. Morgan, sweetheart, are you ready? Mother's voice floats up the stairs, syrupy sweet, the way it gets when she wants something. The guests are arriving. I dig my nails into my palms. Coming. The house smells different now, like expensive perfume and unfamiliar cologne. Gone are the traces of Dad's favorite coffee and his old leather armchair. Mother had it removed last month, claiming it didn't match the new decor. Just like that, 17 years of morning conversations with Dad, wiped away with the interior decorator's wave. I descend the stairs, each step measured and deliberate. The foyer bustles with caterers and event staff, transforming our home into something out of a lifestyle magazine. Mother stands at the center of it all, radiant in her designer dress, her hand intertwined with Henry Mitchell's, her new beginning, my nightmare. There you are. She beckons me over, her smile too bright, too practiced. Henry's daughter Olivia is dying to meet you. A girl emerges from behind Henry, all perfect curls and calculated warmth. 15 going on 30, wearing a dress that probably costs more than my college fund. I always wanted a sister, she says, her voice dripping with rehearsed enthusiasm. I force my face into what I hope passes for a smile. How nice. Henry clears his throat, his hand possessive on Mother's waist. Grace tells me you're finishing high school this year, Morgan. Any thoughts about college? Dad's alma mater, I answer automatically. He always said, "Oh, honey," Mother interrupts. "We should discuss that later. The Petersons just arrived." And just like that, I'm dismissed, relegated to the background of their perfect family portrait. I watch as Mother glides through the crowd, introducing her new family to our old friends. Each time she says, "My daughter Morgan," it sounds more like an afterthought. I retreat to the kitchen, seeking refuge among the catering staff. Through the service window, I catch glimpses of the party. Olivia charming Dad's old colleagues, Henry commanding attention with stories of his business success, Mother laughing at all the right moments. They make quite the picture, don't they? I turn to find Thomas, my grandfather, studying me with knowing eyes. He's the only one who still looks at me the same way he did before Dad died. "Did you know?" I ask, my voice barely steady. "About the engagement?" He shakes his head, his expression grim. "Found out same time as you, kid. Your mother's always been good at keeping secrets when it suits her." Through the window, I watch as Henry raises his glass. "To new beginnings," he announces, and the crowd echoes his toast. Mother beams, but her eyes dart around the room, seeking me out. When she finds me watching from the kitchen, something flickers across her face. Guilt, perhaps, or maybe just annoyance at my absence from her perfect moment. "Your father would be proud of you," Grandpa Thomas says quietly, "standing your ground." I grip the counter edge until my knuckles turn white. She's erasing him, Grandpa. Everything he was, everything he wanted for us, she's just replacing it all. Then don't let her. His voice carries the weight of promise. "Your father left more than just memories, Morgan. When the time comes, you'll understand." I look at him sharply, but he's already turning away, leaving me with questions I'm not sure I want answered. In the other room, Mother's laugh rings out, artificial and sharp like breaking glass. This isn't just about an engagement anymore. This is about preservation, of memories, of promises, of everything Dad held dear. And if Mother thinks she can simply write over our past with her golden future, she's about to learn exactly how much of him lives on in me. The lock clicks differently now. That's the first thing I notice when I return home from school. The sound is wrong, like everything else since the engagement party 3 days ago. I push open the door and freeze. My room isn't my room anymore. Pale pink walls have replaced the deep blue I picked with Dad. My photography collection, carefully curated over years, has vanished, replaced by fashion magazine cutouts and selfies of Olivia with her friends. My desk, where I spent countless nights studying, now holds a vanity mirror bordered with LED lights. "Do you like it?" Olivia appears behind me, her voice honey-sweet. "Your mother said I could redecorate since you'll be leaving for college soon anyway." I turn slowly, my hands trembling. "Where are my things?" "Oh, those old photos?" She waves dismissively. "Grace packed them away somewhere. The basement, I think." She said we needed to modernize the space. The basement, where forgotten things go to die. I brush past her, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Mother stands in the kitchen, arranging flowers in a crystal vase I've never seen before. "Morgan, perfect timing. Henry and Olivia are joining us for dinner. Could you set the table?" "My room," I manage through clenched teeth. "You gave away my room." She doesn't look up from her flowers. "Don't be dramatic. We're all going to be family soon. Olivia needs her own space, and you'll be gone in a few months anyway. Gone? The word tastes bitter. I haven't even applied to colleges yet. About that. She finally meets my eyes. Henry thinks it might be best if you consider community college first, with the wedding expenses and Olivia's private school tuition. The vase wobbles as my hands slam against the counter. Private school? What about my college fund? Morgan. Her voice sharpens. Henry is being incredibly generous, taking us both in. The least we can do is ensure Olivia gets the best education possible. The least we can do? I laugh, but it sounds more like breaking glass. That money was from Dad. He saved it for my education. Your father isn't here anymore. She straightens her designer blouse, another new addition to her wardrobe. We need to think about the future, not cling to the past. The front door opens, and Henry's voice booms through the house. Something smells wonderful. Mother's face transforms instantly, softening into the perfect hostess. In the kitchen, darling. I watch as Henry sweeps in, kissing her cheek before nodding at me. Morgan, how was school? Before I can answer, Olivia bounces in. Daddy, wait until you see my new room. Grace helped me pick everything out. It's absolutely perfect. My room, I correct quietly. No one seems to hear. Dinner is a performance. Mother and Henry discuss wedding plans while Olivia interjects with suggestions about colors and flowers. I push food around my plate, wondering if Dad's ghost is watching this travesty from somewhere. Oh, and Morgan, Henry says between bites. I've arranged for you to intern at my friend's local newspaper this summer. Good experience for community college. My fork clatters against the plate. I already have summer plans. Photography workshop in New York. That expensive program? Mother frowns. We discussed this. It's not practical anymore. Dad promised, I start. Well, he's not here to keep that promise, is he? The words slice through the air, leaving silence in their wake. I stand up so quickly my chair tips backward. No, he's not. And you're making damn sure I never forget that. Morgan. Mother's shock seems genuine, as if she can't fathom why I'm upset. I back away from the table, from these strangers wearing family masks. I'm going to Grandpa Thomas's. Don't be ridiculous, Mother calls after me. You can't just leave in the middle of dinner. But I'm already grabbing my keys, my phone, anything within reach. Behind me, I hear Olivia's staged whisper. Is she always this dramatic? The drive to Grandpa's takes 12 minutes. I know because I count every second, trying to breathe through the rage and grief fighting in my chest. His porch light is on, like always, a beacon in the growing dark. He opens the door before I knock, one look at my face telling him everything he needs to know. They redecorated your room, didn't they? I nod, words stuck somewhere between anger and tears. Come on in, kid. He steps aside. I've got some things to show you about your father's estate, things your mother doesn't know about yet. For the first time today, I feel something like hope. Grandpa Thomas spreads the papers across his kitchen table, each document a piece of the puzzle Dad left behind. Bank statements, insurance policies, property deeds, a paper trail of promises I never knew existed. Your father wasn't just thinking about college, Grandpa says, tapping a particular document. He set up a trust, one your mother can't touch. My hands shake as I read the numbers. This can't be right. James was always smarter than Grace gave him credit for. Grandpa's voice carries a hint of satisfaction. He knew she'd try to control your future someday. The front door chimes, interrupting our conversation. Through the window, I spot Mother's Mercedes in the driveway, its pristine surface reflecting the setting sun like a warning. Morgan, her voice rings through the house. I know you're here. We need to talk about your behavior. Grandpa Thomas meets my eyes. Your choice, kid. Face her now or wait. I gather the papers, sliding them into my backpack. Now, I'm done running. Mother stands in the living room, designer purse clutched like a shield. This tantrum needs to stop. Henry and Olivia are trying so hard to welcome you into the family. By stealing my college fund, the words taste like acid. That money is going toward building our future together. She steps closer, reaching for my arm. Morgan, please try to understand. Henry can provide opportunities we never had before. You mean opportunities for Olivia? I pull away. Show her the trust fund documents, Grandpa. He hands them over without a word. Mother's face changes as she reads. Confusion, then shock, then something darker. "This isn't possible," she whispers. "James didn't have this kind of money. Dad had a lot of things you didn't know about." I watch her carefully. "Including the house deed. Did you tell Henry it's still in Dad's name? That you can't sell it without my signature when I turn 18? The papers crumple in her grip. "You're 17. I'm still your legal guardian." For 8 more months, I take a step forward. Long enough to watch you and Henry waste my college fund on Olivia's private school? I don't think so. "You ungrateful—" She catches herself, smoothing her expression. "Morgan, everything I've done has been for us, for our security." "No." The certainty in my voice surprises even me. "Everything you've done has been for you. Dad made sure I'd have choices, Mother, real ones, not the scraps you and Henry decide to throw my way." Her phone buzzes, probably Henry wondering where she is. She glances at it, then back at me, calculation replacing anger. "We can discuss this later when you're thinking clearly." She turns to leave, then pauses. "But remember who's still in charge for the next 8 months. Don't push me, Morgan." After she's gone, Grandpa Thomas settles into his armchair. "She'll try something now. You know that, right?" I nod, already scrolling through my phone. "That's why I'm calling Dad's lawyer, the one you recommended." "Smart girl." He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "Your father would be proud." "But Morgan?" "Yeah?" "Watch out for Olivia. She's more like her father than your mother realizes." I think of my transformed bedroom, of Olivia's calculated innocence. I know, but they don't know what I know now. "Just be careful." He coughs, a rough sound that makes me look at him sharply. This kind of fight, it changes people. I'm already changed. I touch the trust fund papers in my bag. They just don't know it yet. That night I drive past our house, my house, technically. Through the window I see them, Mother, Henry, and Olivia, gathered around the dinner table like a perfect family portrait. Olivia catches my eye and waves, all sugar-sweet venom. I don't wave back. Instead, I take a photo with my phone, documenting this moment. The calm before the storm they don't see coming. Let them play house. Let them think they've won. In 8 months, they'll learn what Dad always taught me. The quiet ones, the ones you underestimate, they're the ones you should watch out for. I start the car, but before I pull away, I send the photo to Mother with a simple message. "Enjoy my college fund while you can. Time's running out." Then I block her number and drive back to Grandpa's house, where the real planning can begin. The local coffee shop becomes my refuge, a place where I can spread out college applications and scholarship forms without Mother's disapproving shadow. I've been living at Grandpa's for 2 weeks now, each day a small victory in reclaiming my life. "Your usual?" Sarah, the barista, already has my order started. "Thanks." I pull out Dad's old laptop, the one thing I managed to save before Olivia's invasion. "Double shot today." "Rough morning?" Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. A photo appears. My childhood bedroom, now completely gutted. The caption reads, "Making space for my dance studio. Hope you didn't leave anything important behind." Oh, my hands clench around the phone. Through the window, I spot Henry's Mercedes idling across the street, Olivia in the passenger seat, phone still raised. She waves, all innocence and spite. "Morgan?" Sarah sets down my coffee. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Something like that. I force myself to look away from the window. "Hey, are you still looking for weekend help?" She brightens. "Actually, yeah. You interested?" "Very. I need money that Mother can't control, a backup plan she can't touch." The bell above the door chimes. Grandpa Thomas walks in, but something's wrong. His usual steady stride is slower, more deliberate. He spots me and manages a smile that doesn't quite mask his exhaustion. "Thought I'd find you here." He settles into the chair across from me, waving off my concerned look. Just the stares giving these old bones trouble. "Grandpa, don't." He pulls out a thick manila envelope. "We have more important things to discuss. Your father's lawyer called. My coffee goes cold as we review the documents. Dad's trust fund is ironclad, but there's a catch. I can't access it until I'm 18 or enrolled in college, whichever comes first. Mother's trying to delay my college applications, I realize. That's why she keeps pushing community college. She wants to control the money as long as possible. Grandpa nods grimly. But there's something else. He slides over another document, this one yellowed with age. The house deed has a clause your mother doesn't know about. If she remarries while you're still a minor, control of the property goes to a trust managed by you, I breathe, understanding dawning. Dad made you the trustee. Smart man, your father. Grandpa's pride is evident. He knew Grace better than she thought. My phone buzzes again. Mother this time. I silence it without looking. They're going to fight this, I say. Count on it. He coughs, a rough sound that makes my chest tighten. That's why we need to move fast. The wedding's in 6 weeks. Grandpa, are you sure you're... I'm fine. He waves off my concern again, but I catch the slight tremor in his hand. Focus on what matters. Get those applications done. I'll handle the legal side. The bell chimes again. Henry walks in, all corporate confidence and calculated charm. Not a coincidence, then. They followed me here. Morgan, Thomas. He nods to us both. Grace is worried sick, you know. This rebellion has gone on long enough. I start gathering my papers, but Grandpa's hand on my arm stops me. We're not finished here, Henry. Actually, I think you are. Henry's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Grace mentioned you've been feeling under the weather lately, Thomas. Perhaps you should focus on your health rather than encouraging Morgan's difficult phase. The threat hangs in the air, subtle but clear. Interesting concern, Grandpa replies mildly. I'm well enough to execute my duties as trustee, though, both legal and ethical ones. Henry's smile falters for just a moment. Trustee? Morgan, show him the deed clause. Grandpa's voice carries a strength I haven't heard in days. The one about remarriage and property rights. I slide the document across the table, watching Henry's face as he reads. His composed mask cracks, just slightly, but it's enough. We'll have our lawyers review this, he says finally, his tone carefully neutral. Please do. Grandpa stands, steadier now despite his earlier weakness. And Henry? Tell Grace that if anything happens to me before the wedding, everything goes directly to Morgan. Immediately. I've made sure of that. As Henry leaves, I turn to my grandfather. Did Dad really plan all this? Your father knew the value of a good backup plan. He smiles, but I catch the flash of pain he tries to hide. Now, about those college applications. I open my laptop again, but my eyes stay on Grandpa, worry gnawing at my chest. We're winning this battle, but I can't shake the feeling that we're running out of time. The acceptance letter from Dad's alma mater sits on Grandpa's kitchen table like a time bomb, full scholarship, everything Dad ever wanted for me, everything Mother tried to prevent. I haven't told her yet. Grandpa shuffles in, his morning paper tucked under his arm. The shuffling is new, like his cough, like the way he grips furniture when he thinks I'm not looking. He's getting worse, but neither of us acknowledges it. Big day, he says, nodding at the letter. Your father would be proud. Mother's lawyer called again. I push my untouched coffee aside. They want a meeting, all of us. He settles into his chair with a barely concealed wince. Of course they do, the wedding's in 2 weeks. The doorbell interrupts us. Through the window, I spot Mother's Mercedes, but it's Henry who stands on the porch, alone for once. Morgan. He nods as I open the door. Thomas, may I come in? Grandpa waves him toward the kitchen, where my acceptance letter lies exposed. Henry's eyes fix on the university letterhead, his expression tightening. Congratulations, he says smoothly, though I assume you haven't accepted yet. Actually, before you do, he interrupts, I have a proposition, one that could benefit everyone. Grandpa's hand tightens on his coffee cup. Careful, Henry. It's quite simple. Henry pulls out a checkbook. Defer college for a year. Let Grace have her wedding, let the dust settle. In return, I'll personally fund your education, any school you choose. You mean let the trust fund stay under Mother's control? I mean give your mother this one thing. His voice softens. She's trying, Morgan, in her way. By stealing my college fund? By erasing Dad from our lives? By surviving. He writes something on a check, slides it across the table. This could end the fighting, give everyone a fresh start. The amount makes my breath catch. more than the trust fund, more than I'd need for any university. And all I have to do is disappear for a year? My voice sounds distant to my own ears. Let mother play happy families while Olivia takes over my life? Think of it as an investment in peace. Grandpa starts coughing, deep, racking coughs that shake his whole body. I rush to get his water, but he waves me off. I'm fine. He manages between coughs. Just need a minute. Henry watches this exchange with calculated interest. Thomas, perhaps you should see a doctor. Grace mentioned you've been unwell. I don't need... Another coughing fit cuts him off. Actually, Henry continues, I know an excellent specialist. I'd be happy to arrange an appointment. Consider it part of our agreement. The manipulation is so obvious, it burns. I look at Grandpa, at the way his hands shake, at the pallor of his skin, then at the check, at the acceptance letter that represents everything I've fought for. Morgan. Grandpa's voice is steady despite his weakness. Remember what your father said about shortcuts. This isn't a shortcut, Henry interjects. It's a compromise, one that could help everyone, including Thomas. I pick up the check, feel its weight in my hands. Think about Grandpa's worsening health, about Mother's determination to control my future, about Olivia's smirking victory. Then I tear it in half. No deal. I meet Henry's startled gaze. I'm accepting the scholarship. I'm keeping the house. And if anything happens to Grandpa, anything at all, every lawyer in the state will know exactly who to investigate. Henry's mask slips, just for a moment. You're making a mistake. No, you are. I gather the torn pieces of his check. You thought you could buy me off like you bought Mother, but Dad taught me better than that. Your father is dead, he says flatly. And Thomas, well, time will tell. The threat hangs in the air as he leaves. When his car pulls away, Grandpa reaches for my hand. You okay, kid? I'm not. I'm terrified of losing him, of facing Mother's fury, of fighting this battle alone. But I think of Dad, of his quiet strength, of the legacy he left me to protect. I need to make some calls, I say instead, starting with Dad's lawyer. Grandpa nods, understanding everything I'm not saying. Whatever happens next, Morgan, remember, you're your father's daughter. I look at the acceptance letter again, at my future written in black and white. 2 weeks until the wedding. 2 weeks to prepare for whatever Henry and Mother are planning. 2 weeks to make sure I don't lose everything, or everyone, I have left. The funeral home smells like Mother's expensive perfume and false sympathy. Grandpa Thomas died 3 days before her wedding, his heart giving out in the quiet hours of mourning while I slept down the hall. Now I stand beside his casket, watching Mother work the room like it's another social event. Such a tragedy, she keeps saying. At least he lived to see Morgan get into college. The college acceptance letter sits in my pocket, creased and worn. Grandpa insisted I bring it today, his last coherent request before the end. I didn't understand why until Dad's lawyer approached me an hour ago, envelope in hand. Your grandfather was very specific about the timing, he said quietly, to be opened at the memorial, not before. Now the envelope burns in my other pocket, waiting. Morgan. Henry materializes beside me, his voice low. Grace would like you to say a few words. Family unity, especially today. I turn to face him. The wedding's tomorrow. Couldn't even wait a week. Life goes on. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. Thomas would have understood. Thomas understood everything. I pull out the envelope, including you. Before he can respond, Mother calls everyone to attention. She stands at the podium, elegant in designer black, Olivia at her side like a shadow. We're here to celebrate Thomas's life, she begins. A wonderful father, grandfather, and trustee. I step forward, breaking protocol, breaking the perfect facade she's built. Maybe we should talk about that part. The room goes quiet. Mother's smile freezes. Morgan, sweetheart, this isn't the time. Actually, it's exactly the time. I open the envelope, hands steady despite everything. Grandpa Thomas left instructions about the house, about the trust fund, about everything. Henry moves toward me, but I'm already reading. In the event of my death, all trustee responsibilities transfer immediately to Morgan Carter, effective on her 18th birthday in 3 months. Until then, all assets are frozen. Mother's composure cracks. That's impossible. She's still a minor. With a court-appointed guardian. Dad's lawyer steps forward. Me. Thomas arranged it last week. The whispers start. I watch Mother's carefully constructed world crumble in real time. Olivia's smirk vanishes. Henry's mask slips completely. You can't do this, Mother hisses, grabbing my arm. This is my house, my life. It was Dad's house. I pull away. And Grandpa protected it, just like he protected me. The wedding tomorrow? You can have it anywhere but there. You ungrateful. She catches herself, aware of the audience. Everything I've done was for us, for your future. No. My voice breaks just a little. Everything you've done was for you. And now you've lost it all. The next moments blur. Mother crying perfectly orchestrated tears. Henry making urgent phone calls. Olivia's venomous glare as their perfect plan implodes. I step outside, needing air, needing space. The autumn wind carries leaves across the parking lot, red and gold, like the ones Grandpa and I used to collect. The grief hits then, a physical force that drives me to my knees. Morgan, Dad's lawyer, no, my guardian now, touches my shoulder. There's more. Thomas left you a letter. Another envelope. My hands shake as I open it, recognizing Grandpa's unsteady handwriting. My dear Morgan, by now they've shown their true colors. Your mother will try to paint me as senile. Henry will threaten legal action, and you'll feel more alone than ever. But remember, you're a Carter. Your father and I made sure you'd have the tools to fight back. The house, the trust fund, your future, they're yours to protect now. Don't let the grief blind you. Don't let revenge consume you. Build something better from these ashes. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer. But you don't need me anymore. You never did. All my love, Grandpa Thomas. The paper blurs as tears fall. Behind me, I hear Mother's voice rising. Henry's attempts to control the situation. Olivia's dramatic sobs. Their perfect world is shattering, and I should feel victorious. Instead, I feel hollow, empty. Grandpa's gone, really gone. And tomorrow, Mother will marry Henry in some hastily arranged venue, and I'll go home to an empty house full of ghosts. I fold the letter carefully, tucking it away with my college acceptance. 3 months until I'm 18. 3 months to hold everything together. 3 months to prove Grandpa right, that I'm stronger than the grief, bigger than the revenge, worthy of the legacy they left me. But right now, watching the autumn leaves dance across my grandfather's grave, I've never felt more alone. The key still works in the front door lock, though Mother changed everything else about our home during my 3 weeks away. I step inside, breathing in the unfamiliar scent of expensive candles and new furniture. The house feels wrong, like a stage set pretending to be something it's not. My footsteps echo on hardwood floors that once held Dad's favorite rugs. In the living room, family photos have been replaced by abstract art. Only one remains, Mother and Henry's wedding portrait, prominently displayed where Dad's graduation photo used to hang. Morgan? Mother's voice carries from upstairs. Is that you? I don't answer, moving instead toward the basement door. My childhood sits in boxes down there, waiting to be reclaimed. But the door is locked, new deadbolt, freshly installed. Looking for something? Olivia appears at the top of the stairs, twirling a key ring. Daddy changed the locks after you tried to stop the wedding, for security. This is still my house. Is it? She descends slowly, each step deliberate, because it looks like our house now. Mother and Daddy made sure of that. Your mother? The words taste like poison. Well, she's not exactly yours anymore, is she? Her smile is razor sharp. Not since you tried to ruin everything at the funeral. Mother appears behind her, elegant as always in designer clothes that Dad's insurance money probably bought. Morgan, we need to talk about your behavior. This rebellion has gone far enough. Rebellion? I pull out the court documents. My trump card, the one Grandpa Thomas prepared. You mean legally protecting what's mine? What's yours? Mother's composure cracks. I raised you. I sacrificed everything. You sacrificed Dad's memory, his wishes, my future. Your future? She laughs, brittle and sharp. A photography degree? Thomas filled your head with nonsense about following your dreams, but dreams don't pay bills. No. Henry's voice joins in as he enters through the front door. But trust funds do. The ones you tried to access last week, Grace. Mother freezes. Even Olivia looks surprised. What? I turn to Henry. What did she do? Attempted to transfer the funds before the court order took effect. He sets his briefcase down, looking tired. It didn't work. You promised you'd handle it, Mother hisses at him. You said... I said I'd try. He loosens his tie. But Thomas was thorough. Every attempt triggered notifications to the lawyers. The truth hits like a physical blow. You married him to get access to my trust fund. I married him because we needed security. Mother's careful mask shatters completely. Your father left us with nothing but a house we can't sell and dreams we can't afford. He left us everything that mattered. Matter? She grabs a wedding photo, throws it at my feet. The glass shatters. This matters. Status, security, a real future, not some fantasy about following in his footsteps. I step over the broken glass, moving toward the stairs. I'm taking my things from the basement. There's nothing down there. Olivia's smirk returns. We had it cleared out last week. Professional junk removal. The world stops. What? It was time to let go. Mother's voice turns soothing, reasonable. Start fresh. Henry's interior decorator is coming tomorrow to... I don't hear the rest. I'm already moving, running up to my old room, Olivia's room now. But in the back of my closet, behind her designer clothes, I find it. Dad's old camera bag, hidden where I stashed it years ago. Inside, wrapped in his favorite shirt, is a sealed envelope. One final message from Grandpa Thomas, hidden where he knew I'd look. Touch that and I'll call the police. Mother stands in the doorway. That's Olivia's closet now. I open the envelope. Inside is a key and a note. Storage unit 247. Everything that matters is waiting. They can't take what they can't find. The laugh bubbles up before I can stop it. Even now, they're still protecting me. Still one step ahead. You can keep the house, I tell Mother, tucking the key away. For now, but in 3 months, when I turn 18, I want you gone, all of you. You can't, I can. I will. I shoulder past her, past Olivia's shocked face and Henry's calculating stare. Dad and Grandpa made sure of that. At the front door, I pause. Oh, and Mother, check your prenup carefully. I'm not the only one they were protecting me from. I leave them there, surrounded by their perfect new life built on hollow foundations. In my pocket, the storage unit key feels like a promise. Some things, it turns out, they couldn't erase after all. The house key feels different in my hand now. Heavier, like it knows things have changed. I unlock the front door of what was once Mother's perfect showcase home, now emptied of her designer furniture and Henry's corporate art. Only the echoes remain. My footsteps carry me through rooms that hold more ghosts than memories. In the kitchen, where Dad taught me to make his famous pancakes. The living room, where Grandpa Thomas graded papers in his favorite chair. My old bedroom, now stripped of Olivia's presence, waiting to become something new. The moving truck arrives at 9. 2 men with clipboards and careful hands, ready to pack away the last traces of Mother's carefully curated life. She left last week after the divorce papers arrived, Henry's final surprise. Turns out he had secrets of his own, ones that made Mother's schemes look amateur. I find her note in the study, placed carefully on Dad's old desk, the one piece of furniture she never dared remove. Morgan, some dreams cost too much. I understand that now. Take care of his house. It was always more yours than mine. Mother. No apology, no explanation. Just acceptance, finally, of what she lost in trying to gain something else. The storage unit key burns in my pocket, the one that led me to everything she tried to erase. Dad's photos, family albums, the vintage camera collection he started when I was 5. All safe, all waiting, all proof that some things can't be buried. My phone buzzes. An email from the university housing office. Roommate assignment, class schedule. A future taking shape. One Dad helped build before he left. One Grandpa Thomas protected until his last breath. Miss Carter? One of the movers appears in the doorway. Where would you like the furniture delivered? The women's shelter on 5th Street. I hand him the address. Everything except what's in the basement. He nods, doesn't ask questions. Maybe he's seen this before. Families splitting apart, pieces being redistributed like cosmic justice. The basement door opens easily now, no more locks keeping me from my past. Down here, I've rebuilt what Mother tried to destroy. Dad's dark room, restored with equipment from his old studio. Grandpa's research desk, rescued from university storage. My future, taking shape in the foundations they left me. A final envelope waits on the desk. Different handwriting this time. Henry's. Inside, a cashier's check and a brief note. For your first year, not because I owe you, but because your father would have done the same for Olivia. Some debts can't be measured in dollars. H. The check trembles in my hands. Revenge would be easy. Tear it up, send it back, reject this final attempt at, what, redemption, manipulation, understanding? But Dad's voice echoes in my head. The best revenge is living well. I tuck the check away, not accepting, not rejecting, just acknowledging that even in the darkest stories, light finds ways to seep through. Upstairs, the movers finish their work. The house creaks, adjusting to its new emptiness. But it's not empty, not really. It's waiting. Like it waited for Dad when he first bought it. Like it waited for me while Mother tried to remake it in her image. In the kitchen, I pin a new photo to the refrigerator, one I took at Grandpa's favorite spot in the park. The morning light catches 3 generations of smiles. Dad holding my first camera, Grandpa Thomas with his books, me between them, looking forward. The real estate agent arrives at noon, rental agreement in hand. A young family, she says. Parents who want their kids to grow up in a home with history. They'll take good care of the place while I'm at college. I sign the papers on Dad's desk, using Grandpa's favorite pen. Outside, the moving truck pulls away, carrying Mother's perfect life to people who need it more than she did. My phone buzzes again. The coffee shop where I worked, offering my old job back for the summer. Sarah's name on the message makes me smile. Some anchors hold, even when everything else breaks free. I lock the front door one last time, but I keep the key. Not because I need it anymore, but because it reminds me of what Dad always said. Home isn't where you live, Morgan. It's what lives in you. The morning sun catches the brass key, making it shine like a promise kept.
The courier's knock was sharp. 3 quick raps that echoed the frantic beat of my own heart. I knew, even before I saw the official-looking envelope, that it wasn't good news. My ex-husband, Davis, specialised in delivering misery by registered mail. My name is Hannah. And for the past 6 months, since the ink dried on divorce papers that felt more like a parole agreement, my life has been a relentless battle for my children, Thomas and Marley. Davis, a man who could charm a snake out of its skin in public and then crush it underfoot in private, was trying to take them from me. He had the money, the connections, and an apparently bottomless well of malice. I tore open the envelope, my hands shaking. Petition to modify custody. The words swam before my eyes. He was claiming I was unstable, an unfit mother. My breath hitched. Then I saw the supporting declarations. Vague accusations, twisted half-truths, all painting me as a hysterical wreck. But it was the phrasing, certain specific criticisms. They sounded chillingly familiar. Like snippets of conversations I'd had in confidence, anxieties I'd shared not with Davis but with my own family, my mother, Naomi, my father, Reuben, even my brother, Dalton. A cold dread, sharp and painful, pierced through the initial shock. Surely not. They wouldn't. I needed to see them, to look them in the eyes. I called my mother. Mum, can I come over for dinner tonight, with the kids? I need to talk to you all. Her voice was cooler than usual. Oh, Hannah, tonight is a bit difficult. Reuben and I had plans. Please, Mom, I begged, the words catching in my throat. It's important. It's about the kids. A sigh. All right, fine. But don't make it a late one. And try to be calm. Calm. As if I was the one perpetually on the verge of an explosion. The dinner was a disaster from the moment we walked in. Thomas, my 8-year-old, usually so boisterous, clung to my leg. 6-year-old Marley just stared at her grandparents with wide, uncertain eyes. The air in my parents' overly pristine living room was thick with unspoken things. My father, Reuben, fiddled with his new, ostentatiously expensive-looking watch, avoiding my gaze. Dalton slumped on the sofa, scrolling through his phone, offering only a grunt of greeting. "So," Naomi began, her voice brittle as she placed a bowl of aggressively bland pasta on the table. "What's this urgent matter, Hannah?" I tried to keep my voice even. "I received new papers from Davis today. He's making some awful accusations. He's trying to say I'm unstable." Reuben finally looked up, a carefully neutral expression on his face. "Well, Hannah, you've been under a lot of stress. Divorce is hard on everyone." "Stress?" I repeated, my voice rising despite myself. "He's lying, Dad. He's twisting things, and some of the things he's saying, they sound like things I've only ever told you. Or Mom." Naomi bristled. "Are you accusing us of something, Hannah? We would never do anything to hurt you or the children." But her eyes didn't quite meet mine. Dalton snorted from the sofa, not even looking up. "Davis always seemed pretty reasonable to me. Maybe you should just listen to what he's offering." "Offering?" I stared at him. "He's offering to take my children, Dalton, based on lies." "Now, Hannah, don't get hysterical," Naomi said, her tone sharp. "Dalton has a point. Sometimes it's better to find a compromise. A compromise that involves me losing my kids." My chest felt tight, like a band was constricting around it. I looked from one unyielding face to another, my father staring at his plate, my brother, indifferent, my mother, her expression hardening. This wasn't a plea for support, it was an interrogation, and I was already judged guilty. "They're my children," I whispered, a desperate plea. "Don't you care?" My mother patted my hand, a gesture devoid of any warmth. Her rings, newer and flashier than I remembered, glinted under the dining room light. "Of course we care, dear, but you have to be practical. Davis has resources. He can provide for them in ways you currently can't." The implication hung in the air, suffocating me, that I was a failure, incapable. "He's abusive, Mum," I said, my voice trembling. "You know what he was like." Naomi waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, Hannah, you always were a bit dramatic. Every marriage has its ups and downs. Davis just wants what's best, and he's been very generous in ensuring everyone is taken care of." I froze. "Generous?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What does that mean, Mom? Generous to whom?" She looked flustered for a split second, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes before her carefully composed mask slipped back into place. "Just generous. He's a successful man, Hannah. He understands the importance of family." But her words, ensuring everyone is taken care of, echoed in my mind, cold and terrifying. Taken care of how? And at what cost to me and my children? The pasta on my plate suddenly looked like a pile of worms. I knew, with a sickening certainty, that this was far worse than I could have ever imagined. Generous. The word clung to me like a shroud as I drove away from my parents' house, Thomas and Marley blessedly asleep in the back seat. Ensuring everyone is taken care of. It wasn't just a casual remark. It was a confession, veiled in maternal condescension. The moment I got the kids into bed, I called Livia, my voice tight with unshed tears and a burgeoning, sickening anger. "Liv, you won't believe what my mother just said." "Knowing Naomi? Try me." Livia's voice, calm and steady, was an anchor. I recounted the dinner, Naomi's chilling words, Reuben's avoidance, Dalton's dismissiveness. She said Davis has been generous, that he's ensuring everyone is taken care of. "What does that mean, Liv? What the hell does that mean?" "It means trouble, Han," Livia said, her voice grim. "It means they're not just passively on his side. It sounds like they're actively benefiting." A cold knot formed in my stomach. "You think he's paying them? Given Davis's methods and your family's appreciation for financial comfort, it's not a stretch," Livia said gently. "We need to look. Social media, any shared accounts, old email addresses you guys might have used for family stuff, anything." The next few days were a descent into a digital rabbit hole fueled by coffee and a growing sense of dread. Livia came over every evening after work. We sat side by side on my sofa, laptops open, scrolling, searching. It started subtly. A new designer handbag Naomi had posted a picture of just last week. "A little treat for myself," the caption read. Reuben tagged in a photo at a golf course I knew he couldn't afford the membership for. Dalton showing off a new gaming console that cost a fortune. Small things, perhaps, but the timing, coinciding with Davis escalating the custody battle, felt too convenient. It's circumstantial, I muttered, trying to convince myself. Keep digging, Livia urged. Her eyes narrowed in concentration. People get careless. She was right. The carelessness came in the form of an old, rarely used family email account, one we'd set up years ago for sharing holiday photos. I'd almost forgotten the password. When I finally logged in, my heart hammered against my ribs. There, nestled amongst spam and ancient newsletters, was a forwarded email chain. The subject line, custody support and future planning. My breath caught. The sender was my father, Reuben. The recipient, Davis. And CCD, my mother and Dalton. Oh my God, Liv, look at this, I whispered, my voice hoarse. Livia leaned closer, reading over my shoulder. The emails detailed discussions about ongoing financial support from Davis to my parents and Dalton. In return, they were to provide their full cooperation and testimony regarding my parenting suitability. There were mentions of lump sums upon successful resolution and assistance with outstanding debts. They were selling me out. They were selling my children's happiness, their stability for Davis's blood money. The betrayal was so profound, so complete, it left me breathless. They wouldn't just lie, I'd told Livia, a desperate hope in my voice only days before. Now the proof was stark, undeniable. As if on cue, the doorbell rang. Another courier. This time the envelope was thicker. I knew what it was before I opened it. The official affidavit supporting Davis's petition. I spread them on the coffee table, my hands trembling so violently I could barely hold them. There they were, my mother's signature, bold and unwavering, at the bottom of a statement filled with fabricated incidents of my neglect and emotional outbursts. My father's, slightly more hesitant but still damning, attesting to my irresponsibility and lack of maternal instinct. And Dalton's, a scrawled mess, backing up their claims, adding his own observations about my unsuitability. Each word was a fresh stab, each signature a final twist of the knife. Livia put a comforting arm around my shoulders. I'm so sorry, Han. Tears streamed down my face, hot and angry. The devastation was quickly being replaced by a cold, hard fury. My own family. How could they? My phone buzzed, Dalton's name flashing on the screen. I stared at it. Then, steeling myself, I answered. What do you want, Dalton? His voice was strained, almost a whisper. Hannah, look, just give him what he wants. It's easier this way, for everyone. Easier for whom, Dalton? I spat back, the fury making my voice shake. Easier for you to cash his checks? You don't understand, he said, a note of panic creeping in. You don't know what he's promised. Suddenly, I heard Naomi's sharp voice in the background. Dalton! Who are you talking to? Give me that phone! The line went dead. Promised? What had Davis promised them that was worth destroying their own daughter, their own sister? The question hung in the air, heavy and ominous. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about something far bigger and far more sinister. Easier for whom, Dalton? I screamed into the dead phone, the silence on the other end a mocking echo of my own family's betrayal. My hand clenched the phone so tightly I thought it might crack. Promised what? What could Davis possibly offer them that would make them tear me apart, lie under oath, and try to rip my children from me? Livia gently took the phone from my trembling fingers. Hannah, breathe. But I couldn't breathe. The air was thick with their treachery. It wasn't just pocket money Davis was dangling, not for this level of commitment to my destruction. He must have promised them fortunes, a life of luxury built on the ruins of mine. The vision of them all, my parents and Dalton, enriched and comfortable while my world crumbled, sent a fresh wave of nausea through me. They weren't just complicit. They were active, eager participants in my downfall. I paced my small living room, the signed affidavits, a poisonous stain on my coffee table. Despair threatened to swallow me whole, my own blood, bought and paid for. Then, a flicker. A memory, hazy at first, then sharpening into focus. My grandmother, my father's mother, a woman of formidable will and even more formidable disdain for Davis. She'd seen his true colours long before I had, and she'd never minced words about my parents' obsession with appearances and money. Years ago, before she passed, she'd sat me down. "Hannah," she'd said, her eyes sharp and knowing, "your parents are good people in some ways, but money can make fools of the best of us. I've made some arrangements. For you, for your future. The Thornton Family Heritage Trust, that's what she'd called it. A substantial fund built over generations. I'd been a young adult then, not really paying close attention to the details, more concerned with university and my burgeoning disastrous relationship with Davis. But one detail surfaced now, crystal clear. My grandmother, in her infinite wisdom and foresight, had stipulated that I, Hannah, would become the sole administrator of the trust upon my 30th birthday. Not my parents, not Reuben, her own son, whom she loved but didn't entirely trust with finances. Me. She'd cited my sound judgment and steady character. My 30th birthday had come and gone 3 years ago. In the chaos of my marriage to Davis, then the divorce, the trust had become a forgotten detail, a dusty file in the back of my mind. My parents, I realised with a jolt, had probably forgotten too, or more likely they'd conveniently overlooked who actually held the purse strings to a significant portion of the lifestyle they so clearly craved. They were so focused on Davis's promises, on the money he was flashing, that they hadn't considered the bedrock of their existing comfort. "Livia," I said, my voice suddenly calm, a strange new resolve hardening within me. "Grandmama." "The trust fund." Livia looked up, intrigued. "What about it?" "She made me the sole administrator when I turned 30, I explained, the pieces clicking into place with a satisfying thud. "They're all beneficiaries, yes. My parents, Dalton. They get regular disbursements, but I control it. I control it." A slow understanding dawned on Livia's face. "You're kidding me? They're trying to destroy you while you hold the keys to their kingdom?" "They forgot," I said, a humourless laugh escaping me. "Or they just assumed it didn't matter, that Davis's money was bigger, better." I needed to be sure. The next morning, I made a discreet call to the law firm that managed the trust. My voice was carefully neutral as I requested clarification on the administrative terms. The lawyer, a Mr. Henderson, was polite and efficient. He confirmed everything. Sole administrator, full discretion. Then I asked another question, a chilling thought having occurred to me overnight. "Mr. Henderson, hypothetically, if someone were trying to gain control of my personal assets through, say, a contentious divorce and custody battle, would the trust be vulnerable?" "Not directly, Ms. Thornton," he replied. "The trust is structured to protect its assets. However," he paused, "are you aware of any discussions Mr. Miller might have had with other beneficiaries regarding your personal financial situation?" "What kind of discussions?" I pressed. "Well," he said, choosing his words carefully, "it has come to my attention through informal channels, a conversation overheard at a club, if you will, that Mr. Miller may have led certain parties to believe that upon a favourable outcome in your current legal proceedings, he would gain access not only to marital assets but also to your perceived personal wealth, which he would then be inclined to share generously." My blood ran cold. Davis hadn't just promised them his money, he dangled the prospect of my money too. Money they wrongly assumed I had stashed away, separate from the trust. They weren't just betting on his victory, they were betting on my complete and utter financial ruin, hoping to pick the bones clean. Their greed knew no bounds. I thanked Mr. Henderson and hung up, a cold, hard knot of determination solidifying in my chest. I walked over to my filing cabinet and pulled out the thick folder labelled Thornton Family Heritage Trust. The legal jargon was dense, but one phrase leaped out, clear and unambiguous. Sole discretion and administrative power vested in Hannah Thornton. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just found a very large, very sharp weapon. "They forgot about Grandmama's wisdom, didn't they?" I murmured to the empty room. They had no idea what was coming. The smile stayed on my face, a grim, determined curve of my lips as I picked up the phone. Livia had given me a name weeks ago when Davis first started his smear campaign. Phoebe Woods, she'd said. She's a shark, Hannah, the kind you want on your side, not circling your lifeboat. At the time, I'd hesitated, intimidated by the reputation and the potential cost. Now cost was no object. Justice was the only currency that mattered. Phoebe's office was sleek, modern, and exuded an air of quiet, lethal competence, just like the woman herself. She listened intently as I laid it all out. Davis's escalating abuse, the lies he was spinning, the custody battle hanging over me like a guillotine. I showed her the affidavits, my voice tight with suppressed rage, as I pointed to my own family's signatures. Then I told her about the trust fund. Her perfectly arched eyebrow rose a fraction. The Thornton Family Heritage Trust, she repeated, a new glint in her sharp eyes. And you are the sole administrator? Yes, I confirmed, sliding the summary document across her polished desk. My grandmother was a very astute woman. Phoebe scanned the document, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she looked up at me, and for the first time I saw a flicker of something that looked remarkably like excitement. Hannah, she said, her voice a low purr, this isn't just a shield. This is a bazooka. A surge of adrenaline, cold and powerful, coursed through me. It was the first time in months, maybe years, that I felt a spark of hope, of actual power. So, what do we do? I asked, leaning forward. We do several things very carefully and very strategically, Phoebe said, tapping a perfectly manicured nail on the trust document. Phase 1. We gather irrefutable evidence, not just of Davis's manipulation, but of your family's active, willing collusion. We need to show they weren't just misled. They were greedy participants. Emails, bank statements showing Davis's generosity, recordings if possible. Anything that paints a clear picture of their motives. I nodded, already thinking about the email chain Livia and I had found. I have a start on that. Good, Phoebe continued. Phase 2. We prepare the legal groundwork to freeze their access to the trust. We don't act on it yet. We wait. We choose our moment for maximum impact, the moment it will cause the most discomfort. A small, almost predatory smile touched her lips. And Davis? I asked, the name like ash in my mouth. Davis, Phoebe said, her smile widening slightly, will be so busy defending himself against your counterclaims, backed by solid evidence of his perjury and attempts to suborn witnesses, your family, that he won't know what hit him. We expose him for the manipulative abuser he is. We ensure those children stay with you, Hannah. And we make him pay in every sense of the word. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like I could breathe again. The despair that had been crushing me began to recede, replaced by a steely resolve. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a player in this ugly game, and I finally had a winning hand. What about my family? I asked, the word tasting bitter. When do they find out about the trust? They find out when it hurts them the most, Phoebe said, her gaze unwavering. They find out when they're standing in court, having just perjured themselves on Davis's behalf, believing their financial futures are secure. That's when we dropped the bomb. The image was so vivid, so satisfying, that I almost laughed. My own mother, so smug and condescending. My father, so weak and entitled. My brother, so easily bought. Their faces when they realised the well had run dry, and that I was the one turning off the tap. I like the way you think, Phoebe, I said. It's what I do best, she replied. Now, let's talk about investigators. We need someone discreet, someone thorough. We spent the next 2 hours mapping out the strategy. Phoebe was meticulous, anticipating Davis's moves, planning counter moves I hadn't even considered. She was everything Livia had promised, sharp, strategic, and utterly ruthless on behalf of her client. As I left her office, I felt lighter than I had in ages, a warrior queen preparing for battle. The universe, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humour. That evening, an email from Davis landed in my inbox. The subject line, "A fair offer for the children's sake." I opened it, my stomach churning. It was a smirking, condescending proposal. If I agreed to relinquish primary custody and accept minimal visitation, he would graciously not pursue full financial ruin against me. And as a final insult, he added, I will also ensure your family doesn't suffer any further financial hardship on your account, provided you cooperate. The sheer, unadulterated audacity of it. He was threatening me with my family's well-being, a family he had already bought and paid for, a family whose true financial lifeline he had no idea I controlled. I stared at the email, a cold fury building inside me. He thought he was so clever, so powerful. He thought he had me backed into a corner. He had no idea. He had absolutely no idea what was coming for him and for them. I didn't reply. I simply saved the email to the growing evidence folder, a small, almost feral smile playing on my lips. Let him feel confident. Let them all feel secure in their betrayal. Their downfall would be all the more spectacular. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of clandestine activity. Phoebe, true to her word, hired a private investigator named Marcus, a quiet, unassuming man who blended into the background like a shadow but missed nothing. While I focused on my children, maintaining a facade of weary resignation for anyone who might be watching, Marcus and Phoebe were busy weaving the web. Marcus was good. Incredibly good. Within days he had bank statements, not just the ones showing Davis's generous deposits into my parents' and Dalton's accounts, gifts, as Davis had no doubt coached them to call them, but also evidence of Davis's own hidden offshore accounts. Money he'd systematically siphoned off during our marriage. Money he'd sworn under oath didn't exist during the divorce settlement. The man was a walking, talking perjury machine. Livia, bless her loyal heart, became my co-conspirator in domestic espionage. Naomi's been on a shopping spree, she reported one evening, scrolling through my mother's ostentatious social media posts. New Italian leather sofa. Just a little something to brighten up the place, she says. And Reuben suddenly developed a taste for vintage wines. Dalton's talking about a down payment on a new sports car. All courtesy of Davis, no doubt, I said, the words like ice. Each purchase was another nail in their coffins. My own moment of evidentiary gold came unexpectedly. I was at a local cafe picking up coffee when I overheard a familiar voice. My mother, Naomi, was holding court at a nearby table with one of her socialite friends, her voice carrying clearly. I slipped my phone out of my bag and discreetly hit record. Eyes and honesty, Carol, Davis is just so much more suitable, Naomi was saying, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Hannah, well, she's always been a bit volatile. Between you and me, it's for the best. The children need stability, and Davis can provide that. He's been incredibly understanding through all this. We'll all be set for life, really, once this unfortunate mess with Hannah is sorted. Set for life. The phrase echoed her earlier generous comment, confirming everything. I saved the recording, a cold satisfaction settling in my gut. It was damning. But Marcus wasn't just digging into Davis's financial manipulations regarding the custody case. He was looking at Davis's entire business empire. Your ex-husband isn't just a bully, Hannah, Marcus told me during a discreet meeting in a quiet park, handing over a slim file. He's playing with fire. The file detailed a series of questionable real estate deals Davis was involved in, shell corporations, inflated property values, transactions that screamed money laundering. This is beyond family court, Marcus said, his expression serious. If this gets into the wrong hands, or rather the right hands, he could be looking at federal charges. My breath caught. This was bigger than I'd imagined. This wasn't just about getting my kids back and cutting off my family. This could utterly destroy Davis. A part of me recoiled at the thought, but a larger, colder part, the part that had endured years of his control and cruelty, felt a grim sense of inevitability. He'd built his empire on lies and manipulation. It was only fitting it would crumble the same way. Then came the twist that made my blood run even colder, if that were possible. Marcus, with a grim set to his jaw, presented his next findings. Davis isn't just promising your family money from these deals, Hannah, he said, his voice low. He's used their names. With their consent, it appears. He laid out documents and corporation papers for some of the shell companies, deeds for suspiciously valued properties. And there they were. Reuben Thornton, Naomi Thornton, Dalton Thornton. Listed as directors, as partners, as straw buyers. They weren't just passive beneficiaries of Davis's dirty money. He'd made them active accomplices in his potentially criminal enterprises. Their greed had made them sign on the dotted line, eager for a piece of a pie that was rotten to the core. "They're implicated," I whispered, staring at their signatures. "If Davis goes down for this, they could go down with him." Marcus nodded. "Potentially. At the very least, they'll face serious investigation. They tied their wagons to his star, not realising it was a falling one. The sheer breathtaking stupidity of it, the depth of their avarice, was almost too much to comprehend. They gambled everything, not just their relationship with me and my children, but their own freedom, on Davis's promises." A few days later, the hypocrisy reached a new peak. I was picking up Thomas and Marley from school when my father, Reuben, materialised beside my car. He was wearing a new, expensive-looking watch, one I definitely hadn't bought him, and an expression of deep, paternal concern that was utterly unconvincing. "Hannah," he began, his voice smooth and oily, "I've been worried about you. About the children. This whole situation with Davis. It's not good for anyone." I just stared at him, my face a mask of stone. "You need to be reasonable, darling," he continued, placing a hand on my arm. I resisted the urge to recoil. "Think of Thomas and Marley. Sometimes a mother has to make sacrifices for her children." "Sacrifices," I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. "What kind of sacrifices are you talking about, Dad? The kind where I sign away my children so you can keep wearing new watches and playing golf at exclusive clubs?" His face flushed. He dropped his hand. "That's unfair, Hannah. We just want what's best for everyone. Davis is a good provider." "He's a criminal," I said, the words flat and final. "And he's made you all his partners." The colour drained from his face. For a split second, I saw fear in his eyes, raw and undisguised, before the bluster returned. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're just upset. Try to think clearly, Hannah, for the children." He turned and walked away, a little too quickly. The encounter left a bitter taste in my mouth, but also a renewed sense of purpose. They were all in so deep, blinded by greed. They had no idea how close to the edge they truly were. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. The days leading up to it were thick with a strange, charged stillness, the proverbial calm before a devastating storm. My family, blissfully unaware of the abyss yawning at their feet, were almost unbearable in their smugness. Naomi paraded a new diamond tennis bracelet at a family acquaintance's birthday lunch, which I attended with the kids only to maintain a semblance of normalcy. "A little gift from a dear friend," she'd trilled, catching my eye with a challenging glint. Reuben spoke loudly on his phone about closing a significant property deal, winking at Dalton, who was busy showing off pictures of a sleek, silver sports car he was test driving. Blood money, every last trinket and boast. It made my stomach churn. Davis himself was the epitome of arrogant confidence. He'd taken to sending me brief, condescending texts, "Hope you're preparing the kids for the transition," or "Just want this to be as smooth as possible for everyone." Each message was a fresh jab, but I didn't react. I let him believe he had already won. Let them all bask in their ill-gotten gains and their certainty of my defeat. The Saturday before the hearing, I sat with Phoebe in her office, the city lights twinkling below. We reviewed the final affidavits, the meticulously organised financial documents, Marcus's damning reports. Everything was in place. "The tip to the journalist?" I asked. Phoebe nodded. "An anonymous, encrypted email sent to Amelia Vance at the Financial Chronicle. She's tenacious. The information on Davis's real estate ventures is too juicy for her to ignore. It's time to break the day after the hearing. We want the custody decision clean, based on his unsuitability as a parent and his attempts to suborn your family. Then the rest of his world can implode." A cold satisfaction settled deep in my bones. It was a multi-pronged attack, designed for maximum devastation. That evening, I found myself staring at an old photograph. Me and Dalton, aged about 10 and 8, grinning gap-toothed at a summer fair, grandmama's arm around us both. A wave of an old, almost forgotten affection washed over me, quickly followed by a fresh stab of pain at his betrayal. On impulse, I took a picture of the photo with my phone and sent it to him, my only message. "Is this what Grandmama would have wanted for us, Dalton?" He saw it. The Reed receipt popped up almost immediately. But there was no reply, just silence. The last thread of hope I might have unconsciously harboured for him snapped. He'd made his choice. The night before the hearing, Davis played one last desperate card. A police officer appeared at my door, serving me with an emergency temporary restraining order. Davis had fabricated an incident, claiming I'd threatened him, that I was a danger. The TRO meant I wouldn't be allowed in the courtroom. Panic flared, hot and sharp. "He can't do this!" I cried to Phoebe over the phone, my voice shaking. "Calm down, Hannah." Phoebe's voice was a soothing balm of competence. "He can try, but he won't succeed. I'm already on it. This is amateur hour. He's getting sloppy, desperate." True to her word, Phoebe had the TRO quashed by morning. The judge, apparently, was not amused by Davis's blatant attempt to manipulate the court on the eve of the hearing. It was a small victory, but it bolstered my resolve. He was rattled. Good. The morning of the hearing dawned grey and overcast, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I dressed carefully, choosing a simple, professional outfit. I needed to look calm, composed, in control, everything Davis and my family were accusing me of not being. Livia arrived to stay with Thomas and Marley, her hug tight and reassuring. "Go get 'em, Han," she whispered. "Burn it all down." Walking into the courtroom felt like stepping into an arena. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my head high, my expression carefully neutral. Davis was already there, huddled with his lawyer, looking supremely confident. My parents and Dalton were seated in the front row of the public gallery, a united front of smug betrayal. As I walked past, Naomi gave me a look that was a sickening blend of pity and contempt. Reuben nodded curtly, his new watch glinting. Dalton wouldn't meet my eyes. I took my seat beside Phoebe. She gave my hand a quick, firm squeeze. "Ready," she murmured. I took a deep breath, the faces of my children flashing in my mind. Thomas's anxious eyes, Marley's trembling lip. This was for them. This was for the years of fear and control. This was for Grandmama's legacy. "Let the show begin," I murmured back, a chillingly calm satisfaction beginning to uncoil within me. The judge entered, and a hush fell over the courtroom. It was time. Davis's lawyer, a slick man named Peterson, with an overly confident smile, went first. He painted a picture of me as an emotional basket case, a neglectful mother on the verge of a complete breakdown. "My client, Mr. Miller," Peterson intoned, his voice oozing false sincerity, "only wants what is best for his beloved children, Thomas and Marley. He fears for their stability, their well-being, in their mother's current erratic state." It was a performance, polished and rehearsed. I sat still, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, focusing on Phoebe's calm profile beside me. Then came the witnesses for Davis. My mother, Naomi, was first. She dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief as she described my supposed mood swings and inability to cope. "I love my daughter," she said, her voice thick with feigned sorrow, "but I have grave concerns. Davis is a rock. He can provide the stable home they need." Lies, every single one. My father, Reuben, followed. He looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat, but he stuck to the script. He spoke of my financial irresponsibility and lack of focus. He even recounted a fabricated incident where I supposedly left the children unattended, a blatant, easily disproven lie. The new watch on his wrist seemed to tick louder with every falsehood. Dalton was last. He mumbled his testimony, barely looking at anyone, but his words were just as damaging. He spoke of my short temper and how I was always stressed out. He agreed with everything his parents and Davis's lawyer had said. The boy I'd shared secrets and dreams with was gone, replaced by this hollow-eyed stranger. It was nauseating. Watching my own family systematically try to destroy me, their faces masks of false concern, was a unique form of torture. I could feel Davis's smug gaze on me from across the courtroom. He thought he had this in the bag. Then it was Phoebe's turn. She rose, calm and collected, a slim folder in her hand. "Your Honour," she began, her voice clear and precise, "we will demonstrate that the petitioner, Mr. Miller, has engaged in a calculated campaign of manipulation and coercion, and that the testimonies you have just heard are not only false, but were actively solicited through financial inducement." A ripple of surprise went through the courtroom. Davis's lawyer objected. "Speculation, Your Honour." "I believe Ms. Woods has evidence to support her claims," the judge said, her expression stern. "Proceed, Ms. Woods." And Phoebe proceeded. Methodically, piece by piece, she dismantled them. She played the recording of Naomi boasting to her friend about how they'd all be set for life once the mess with Hannah is sorted. Naomi's face went white. Phoebe presented bank statements showing the regular, substantial deposits from Davis into my parents' and Dalton's accounts, coinciding perfectly with key dates in the custody dispute. "Gifts, you claim?" Phoebe asked Reuben, her voice laced with steel. "All payment for services rendered, Mr. Thornton. Services such as perjuring yourself in court." Reuben began to sweat, his earlier confidence evaporating. She produced the email chain between Davis and my father, detailing the financial support in exchange for their cooperation. Davis's confident smirk finally faltered. He leaned forward, whispering urgently to his lawyer. Phoebe wasn't finished. She submitted Marcus's report on Davis's hidden offshore accounts, proving he'd lied about his assets during the divorce. She then introduced the information about the questionable real estate deals. "It appears, Your Honour," Phoebe stated coolly, "that Mr. Miller has not only attempted to defraud this court and his ex-wife, but may also be involved in activities that could attract the interest of federal authorities. And regrettably, it seems he has implicated Ms. Thornton's own family members in these ventures." The judge's expression grew grimmer with each revelation. She looked from Davis to my parents, her eyes like chips of ice. Then Phoebe delivered the final, devastating blow. "Your Honour, there is one more crucial piece of information this court needs to be aware of regarding the financial situation and motivations of Mr. Reuben Thornton, Mrs. Naomi Thornton, and Mr. Dalton Thornton." She paused, letting the anticipation build. "Ms. Hannah Thornton is, and has been for several years, the sole administrator of the Thornton Family Heritage Trust, a significant fund from which her parents and brother are primary beneficiaries." A collective gasp went through the small public gallery. I watched their faces. Davis went pale, then a blotchy, furious red. My mother's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief and dawning horror. My father stared, slack-jawed, his face turning a ghastly shade of grey. Dalton just shrank into his chair, looking like he wanted the earth to swallow him whole. Their smugness, their arrogance, shattered into a million pieces, replaced by pure, unadulterated shock. "And effective immediately, Your Honour," Phoebe continued, her voice ringing with authority as she handed a document to the clerk. "Ms. Thornton has issued a notice freezing all disbursements from said trust to Reuben Thornton, Naomi Thornton, and Dalton Thornton, due to their actions which are demonstrably detrimental to the trust's primary beneficiary, Ms. Hannah Thornton, and by extension, her children." The silence in the courtroom was absolute, broken only by Naomi's strangled sob. The judge looked at me, then at Davis, then at my stunned family. Her decision was swift. "Sole legal and physical custody of Thomas and Marley Miller is awarded to their mother, Ms. Hannah Thornton," she declared. Furthermore, based on the financial irregularities presented, this court orders a full investigation into Mr. Davis Miller's finances and business dealings, and will refer the evidence regarding the real estate ventures to the appropriate authorities. It was over. I had won. More than won. I had obliterated them. As we were leaving the courtroom, the chaos erupting behind us, my mother, her face a mask of desperation, tried to grab my arm. "Hannah!" she whispered, her voice cracking. "Hannah, you can't do this to us. We're family." I pulled my arm away, not even looking at her. I didn't say a word. A chillingly calm satisfaction, cold and pure, settled in my heart. Family? They'd forfeited that right long ago. The courtroom doors swung shut behind me, muffling the sounds of Naomi's frantic pleading and Davis's furious, sputtering protest to his lawyer. Phoebe walked beside me, a small, satisfied smile on her face. "Well," she said, "that was rather effective." Effective, I agreed, the word feeling like a massive understatement. My legs felt a little shaky, but my mind was clear, sharp. The weight that had been crushing me for so long had finally lifted. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. News of the courtroom drama, the frozen trust fund, and the impending federal investigation into Davis's affairs spread through our social circles and beyond like a wildfire. Amelia Vance's article in the Financial Chronicle, detailing Davis's shady real estate deals and hinting at the family's complicity, hit the newsstands 2 days later, adding fuel to the inferno. My parents' carefully constructed world crumbled. Their new friends acquired through Davis's influence and their sudden influx of cash vanished. Creditors, who had been so patient when Reuben and Naomi were flashing Davis's money, started calling, demanding payment for the designer sofas, vintage wines and luxury cars. The lavish lifestyle they'd so eagerly embraced, built on empty promises and trust fund money they could no longer access, was revealed as a house of cards in a hurricane. The calls started coming to me, of course. First Dalton, his voice a pathetic whine. "Hannah, you have to undo this. Mum and Dad are falling apart. I didn't know it would be like this." "I'll lose the car, Hannah." "That's unfortunate, Dalton," I said, my voice devoid of sympathy. "Perhaps you should have considered the consequences before you decided to sell out your sister and your niece and nephew." I hung up before he could reply. Then came my father, Reuben, attempting a blustering, authoritative tone that quickly deflated into desperate begging. "Hannah, this is madness. You're destroying your own family. Your mother is beside herself. We need that money. You can't just cut us off." "I can, Dad," I replied calmly. "And I have. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." Click. Naomi's attempts were the most theatrical. Tearful voicemails, dramatic texts proclaiming her undying love for me and the children, blaming Davis for misleading them, conveniently forgetting her own enthusiastic participation. "We can fix this, Hannah. Please just talk to me. We're your parents." I didn't respond to any of them. Their apologies, if you could even call them that, were hollow, self-serving, and far too late. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they got caught. Sorry their gravy train had derailed so spectacularly. Davis, meanwhile, was drowning. His reputation was in tatters. Business partners deserted him. The federal investigation Phoebe had set in motion was gaining traction. His assets frozen, his lawyers scrambling. The man who had tried to paint me as unstable was now the one whose life was publicly imploding. The irony was not lost on me. For me, Thomas and Marley, life began to truly heal. With the court order firmly in place and Davis entangled in his own legal nightmares, the constant threat that had loomed over us was gone. We found a small, sunny house in a new neighbourhood, far from the toxic memories and the prying eyes of our old life. The kids blossomed. Thomas, who had become so quiet and anxious, started cracking jokes again, his laughter echoing through our new home. Marley, my sensitive little girl, stopped having nightmares. She started drawing again, her pictures filled with bright colours and smiling faces. Watching them play in our little backyard, their faces alight with carefree joy, I felt a profound sense of peace. The revenge had been absolute, and yes, the satisfaction was undeniable. It wasn't a gleeful, fist-pumping kind of joy, but a deep, quiet contentment. This wasn't just about punishment, it was about survival. It was about carving out a safe space for my children, protecting them from the poison that had infected our lives for too long. It was about justice, served cold, but oh so satisfyingly. There was no regret for protecting my new family unit, even if it meant severing ties with the one I was born into. Their choices, their greed, their willingness to sacrifice my children's well-being for material gain, those were their burdens to bear. My choice was to fight back, to use the truth as my weapon and the power they had so conveniently forgotten I possessed. The ashes of their greed had quite literally become the foundation of our freedom. Some scars, of course, would always remain. The memory of their betrayal was a dull ache that would likely never fully disappear. But when I looked at Thomas and Marley, thriving, happy, finally safe, I knew I had done what I had to do. They had gambled everything on my silence and Davis's money. They never stood a chance once I decided to use my own voice. And the incredible, far-sighted gift my grandmother had entrusted to me, their kingdom, built on lies, had crumbled. Ours, built on truth and love, was just beginning.
The text glowed mockingly on my husband's phone. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Last night was magical. Love you. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas, until the screen dimmed and went dark, until my fingertips went numb from gripping the device. 20 years of marriage reduced to 12 words from someone named Olivia. My name is Valeria, and I used to write stories about other people's tragedies. Now I'm living in one. The irony wasn't lost on me. Finding out about Nathan's affair while searching for the photos he promised to send from Megan's sweet 16 party last weekend? The party where he'd given that touching speech about family being everything? The party where he'd kissed my cheek in front of everyone, calling me his rock, his foundation. Mom? Megan's voice floated up from downstairs. Have you seen Dad's phone? He's freaking out about missing it. I took a deep breath, my thumb hovering over the screen. Coming, honey! My voice didn't shake. 16 years of community theater had taught me something after all. I'd watched Nathan perfect his craft on those same stages, turning from my awkward college sweetheart into the darling of local television. The man whose car commercials played during prime time. The man who apparently needed a 28-year-old actress to feel validated. I walked downstairs, each step measured, controlled. Nathan paced in the kitchen, running his hands through his perfectly styled hair, the hair he'd started dyeing 3 months ago. Another clue I'd missed. Oh, thank God, he said, reaching for the phone. Where was it? Bedroom dresser. I handed it over, watching his face. You got a text. His fingers tightened around the phone. Most people wouldn't notice the slight tension in his jaw, the barely perceptible pause before he smiled. But I'd spent 2 decades studying Nathan Martin's expressions. I knew every micro movement of his face, the real ones and the performed ones. Probably the agency, he said smoothly, pocketing the device without checking it. They've been calling about that cable series pilot. Megan beamed at him from the breakfast bar. Dad, that's amazing. Why didn't you tell me? Nothing to tell yet, princess. Just preliminary talks. He kissed her forehead, then turned to me. Val, don't forget I have that charity event tonight. Might be late. Of course, the charity event. I wondered how many of those late nights had actually involved raising money for anything other than hotel room charges. I'll be late too, I said, surprising myself. Meeting Lucas for drinks to discuss a potential writing project. Nathan's smile flickered. Lucas Reed had been my friend since college. Before Nathan, before I gave up playwriting to support my husband's dreams. Before I became the stable income that funded his acting classes and headshots and demo reels. Lucas? I thought you'd given up writing. Apparently not. I met his gaze steadily. Things change. Megan looked between us, her forehead creasing slightly. She'd always been perceptive, our daughter. Too perceptive sometimes. I forced a smile. It's probably nothing, I added, the lie bitter on my tongue. Just catching up with an old friend. Nathan nodded, but I saw the calculation in his eyes. He was wondering if I knew, if Lucas had said something, if his carefully constructed world was about to crumble. Let him wonder. I picked up my coffee cup, hiding my expression behind the rim. 20 years ago, I wrote a play about a woman who discovered her husband's betrayal and poisoned him slowly over months. The critics called it melodramatic, unrealistic, said no one would go to such elaborate lengths for revenge. I set down my cup and smiled at my husband. Have fun at your event, darling. Break a leg. He'd taught me well, after all. The best performances are the ones where the audience never sees the knife coming. Lucas studied me from across the table at Morton's, his expression shifting from concern to something darker as I finished telling him about Nathan's text messages. Have you confronted him? He asked, swirling his scotch. What's the point? He'll just lie. I stabbed at my untouched salad. You know what he told Megan this morning? That he's being considered for a cable series pilot. Another lie to feed his ego. Actually, Lucas set down his glass. That part's true. The network's interested in him for a supporting role in my new show. The fork clattered against my plate. Of course, the universe wasn't content just letting Nathan destroy our marriage. It had to reward him too. And through my oldest friend, no less. When were you planning to tell me? Tonight, actually. But not like this. Lucas leaned forward. Val, if I'd known about Olivia... Olivia Turner, I cut in. I looked her up. She's guest starring in that medical drama you produce. Another coincidence? The silence stretched between us, heavy with 25 years of friendship and unspoken truths. Finally, Lucas pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and slid it across the table. On the screen was a production photo. Nathan and Olivia in costume, standing too close, looking at each other with undisguised heat. They met at the callback, Lucas said quietly. I thought it was just chemistry for the camera. I pushed the phone back, my hand steady despite the rage building in my chest. How long have you known? I suspected, but how long? 3 weeks. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I was going to tell you, but Nathan swore it was over. Said it was a mistake, that he loved you and Megan too much to... My laugh cut through the restaurant's refined atmosphere, drawing stares from nearby tables. Let me guess. He gave you his sincere face. The one with the little forehead crease and the slightly trembling lip? He's been perfecting that one since college theater. Val, you know what's funny? I took a long sip of wine. This morning, I was actually grateful for all those years of watching him rehearse. It taught me how to hide what I'm feeling, how to deliver my lines just right. Lucas's expression shifted to alarm. What are you planning? Nothing dramatic. I smiled, remembering the way Nathan had kissed Megan's forehead this morning. So paternal, so pure. Just thinking about that screenplay you mentioned wanting from me. The one about family dynamics and betrayal? Valeria. His voice carried a warning. What? Isn't that what you always told me? Write what you know? I pulled out my credit card as the waiter approached. I think I finally have a story worth telling. This isn't the way... Did you know Megan's been talking about following in her father's footsteps? Wants to study drama in college. I signed the receipt with deliberate strokes. She thinks he's this brilliant artist who sacrificed everything for his craft, who deserves all this success because he worked so hard, stayed so true to his values. She deserves to keep that image of him. Does she? I met Lucas's gaze. Or does she deserve to know that success built on lies isn't success at all? What about your success? He gestured around us. The corporate job? The stable life you've built? Built on what? Suppressing my own dreams? Playing the supportive wife while he... I stopped, noticing my voice had risen again. When I continued, it was barely above a whisper. You know what Nathan said to me last week? That I was lucky he'd helped me find my true calling in corporate work, since my writing never really had that special something. Lucas's face darkened. He didn't. Oh, but he did. Right after his commercial won that local advertising award. I stood, smoothing my skirt. So yes, I think I'll write that screenplay, about a woman who discovers her husband's betrayal and decides to... Well, that would spoil the ending, wouldn't it? Val, wait. I have to go. Megan's alone at home and Nathan's at his... charity event. I picked up my purse. Thanks for dinner, Lucas. And for the inspiration. Sometimes the best stories come from unexpected places. As I walked away, I heard him call after me. What are you going to do? I didn't turn around. Let him wonder. Let them all wonder. After all, isn't that what good writing is about? Keeping your audience guessing until the final act? The Instagram account wasn't even private. That's what broke me. The sheer arrogance of it. Nathan's alternate profile filled with artsy black and white photos of Olivia in various states of carefully curated intimacy. Her hand on his chest. Their shadows merged on a wall. Her lipstick mark on a coffee cup. The timestamps mocked me. 6 months. While I was planning Megan's Sweet 16, while I was supporting his networking events, while I was playing the dutiful corporate wife, they were crafting their little visual love story. My laptop hummed as I scrolled through their digital affair. Each photo carried a pretentious caption, quotes about passion, about living authentically, about following your heart. The latest one showed Olivia's silhouette in a hotel window, posted 3 hours ago. Beauty exists in the spaces between reality and dreams. The front door clicked open downstairs. I heard Nathan's footsteps, then Megan's excited voice. Dad, you have to tell Mom about the audition. I closed the laptop, my fingers trembling slightly as I stood. Their voices drifted up the stairs. Actually, Princess, let me talk to her alone first. Adult stuff. But why don't you order that pizza we talked about? Use my card. I met them at the bottom of the stairs. Nathan's smile was bright, practiced. The same one he used in his commercials. Val, you won't believe what happened at the network meeting. Let me guess, I said, my voice steady. They loved your authentic energy. His smile flickered. How did you... That's your favorite word lately, isn't it? Authentic? I pulled out my phone, opened Instagram. Like this photo from 2 weeks ago. Authenticity is the light that guides us home. The color drained from his face. Behind him, Megan froze with her father's credit card halfway to her phone. Mom, what are you talking about? Nothing, honey, Nathan said quickly. Just some promotional materials for what? I turned my phone toward him. Your artistic exploration of hotel room photography? Or maybe your deep insights into shadow play with actresses half your age? Valeria, his voice dropped to that warning tone he used when he thought I was being difficult. This isn't the time or place. When is the time, Nathan? Between charity events? Between auditions? Between making our daughter believe you're something you're not? What's going on? Megan's voice cracked. Dad? He reached for her, but she stepped back. Smart girl. She'd always been able to smell a performance. It's complicated, sweetheart. Is it? I scrolled through the photos. Seems pretty simple to me. Boy meets girl, boy lies to wife, boy posts artistic evidence of affair online because he thinks he's too special for consequences. You're twisting everything, Nathan snapped. This is my art, my career. Your career? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make them both flinch. The one I funded? The one I supported while putting my own dreams aside? That career? Mom. Megan's eyes were wide, darting between us. I was going to tell you, Nathan said, switching to his sincere voice, the one that had won him that local Emmy. After the pilot gets picked up, once things were stable, like you told Lucas, the look of shock on his face was almost worth it. Oh yes, he knew. Everyone knew except your wife and daughter. How's that for authentic? Megan's phone clattered to the floor. She ran upstairs, her door slamming seconds later. Now look what you've done, Nathan hissed. You couldn't wait? Couldn't handle this like an adult? Like you handled it, with secret accounts and artistic quotes about following your heart? I never meant to get caught? I held up my phone again. Here's my favorite caption. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go of the life you thought you wanted. Posted right after Megan's birthday party. While I was cleaning up the decorations you promised to help with. He reached for me, but I stepped back, just like Megan had. The gesture felt like poetry, like something I might write into a scene. Don't worry, I said, pocketing my phone. I'm taking your advice, letting go of the life I thought I wanted, starting with this marriage. Val, I'm going to check on our daughter, and then I'm going to write something authentic about a man who thought he was too special for consequences. I started up the stairs, then paused. By the way, congratulations on the pilot. Break a leg. I mean that literally. My laptop screen flickered in the darkness of my home office as I typed the opening scene. Interior, living room, night. A woman stands at the window, watching her life unravel in real time. 3 days since the Instagram revelation. 3 days of Megan barely speaking to either of us. 3 days of Nathan sleeping in the guest room, making tearful phone calls he thought I couldn't hear. A knock at my door made me jump. Mom? Megan's voice uncertain. Can I show you something? I closed the laptop. Come in, honey. She entered, clutching her phone like a shield. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, so different from her usual carefully styled appearance. I found something else. About Dad and her. My stomach clenched. You don't have to. They're doing a play together. She thrust the phone at me. At the community theater, where you and Dad met. The casting announcement swam before my eyes. Betrayal by Harold Pinter. Leading roles, Nathan Martin and Olivia Turner. Directed by Marcus Chen, Nathan's old college roommate. Opening night is on your anniversary, Megan said quietly. Of course it was, because the universe wasn't finished teaching me about irony. Did you know? I said, setting down the phone. That's the play where your father and I had our first kiss? I was understudying the lead actress and she got food poisoning opening weekend. Mom? He said I saved the show, called it Destiny. I laughed, but it came out wrong. I quit acting after that, said I preferred writing. Truth was, I knew I couldn't compete with his talent, his ambition. Stop! Megan's voice cracked. Just stop pretending you're okay. I'm not pretending. I opened my laptop again. I'm writing. She moved behind me, reading over my shoulder. Her breath caught. Is that about Dad? It's about a lot of things. I scrolled through the pages I'd written. About choices. about what happens when we build our lives around other people's dreams. He's saying it was a mistake. She sat beside me. That Olivia meant nothing, that he wants to fix things. And you believe him? I don't know what to believe anymore. She picked up a framed photo from my desk, the three of us at her middle school graduation. Everything feels fake now, like we were just acting at being a family. My phone buzzed. Lucas, network loved your outline. Want to meet tomorrow? This could be big. Another buzz. Nathan, please, we need to talk. About the show. About us. About everything. A third buzz. An unknown number. Hi Valeria, this is Olivia. I think we should meet. Megan watched the messages appear. What are you going to do? I looked at my screenplay, at the blinking cursor waiting for the next scene. What do you think I should do? I think... She hesitated, then squared her shoulders. I think you should finish your story. The real one. Even if it hurts people we love? Doesn't lying hurt more? She stood, suddenly looking older than her 16 years. Dad always says art should tell the truth. Let's see if he really believes that. After she left, I stared at the messages. Each one a different path, a different version of revenge or redemption. The writer in me saw the possibilities. Confront Olivia, expose Nathan, use Lucas's offer to tell my story to the world. But Megan's words echoed. Doesn't lying hurt more? I opened a new document and began to type. Interior. Theater. Night. A woman watches from the wings as her husband rehearses a play about betrayal with his mistress. But this isn't that story. This is about what happens next. About the moment she stops being an understudy in her own life. My fingers flew across the keyboard, no longer hesitating. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's story. It's about finally telling your own. I texted Lucas back. Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bringing the first act with me. Then I blocked Nathan's number, deleted Olivia's message and kept writing until dawn broke over my new beginning. The network conference room felt too bright, too sterile for the scene unfolding behind its glass walls. Lucas stood at the whiteboard, pitching my screenplay to a room full of executives while I watched their faces for reactions. Every nod, every scribbled note, every shared glance felt like another nail in Nathan's coffin. It's raw, the development executive said, tapping her pen against my script. The protagonist's anger feels personal. That's what makes it compelling, Lucas answered before I could. It's authentic. That word again. I suppressed a laugh. We'd need to change some details, another exec said. Legal considerations. Of course, I smiled, the same smile I'd practiced in community theater decades ago. I'm open to suggestions. The meeting ended with handshakes and promises of contracts. As we walked to the elevator, Lucas grabbed my arm. They're going to fast-track it. This could air within months. Good. Val, wait. He pulled me aside. Nathan called me this morning. He knows about the meeting. The elevator dinged. Empty. We stepped inside. How? Olivia. She's friends with someone in development. Lucas pressed the lobby button. They're both worried about what you're writing. They should be. He's threatening to sue. Says he can prove it's about him, that it will destroy his chance at the cable series. I watched the floor numbers descend. Funny how he's more worried about his career than his marriage. This isn't just about Nathan anymore. If he sues, the network will pull out. Your chance at writing again? My phone buzzed. Megan. Dad's at the house. He's packing your scripts. The elevator stopped. Wrong floor. The doors opened to reveal Olivia Turner. She stepped in, pressing herself against the opposite wall. Younger in person. Beautiful in that careful way that required constant maintenance. She wore the same shade of lipstick from Nathan's Instagram photos. Valeria, she said quietly, I tried to reach you. I know. Lucas shifted uncomfortably between us as the elevator resumed its descent. It's not what you think, Olivia continued. Nathan and I, save it for your performance. I checked my phone again. Megan, he's in your office. What should I do? The elevator reached the lobby. As I stepped out, Olivia called after me. He never loved me. It was always you. I turned back. That's the problem. He never loved me enough to be honest. Val, Lucas started. I need to go. I was already walking away. Nathan's at my house. Don't do anything. Stupid? I laughed. Too late. I drove home in a daze, remembering the first play Nathan and I did together. He'd been so genuine then, so raw with talent and dreams. When had that changed? When had we both started performing instead of living? Nathan's car sat in our driveway. Inside, I found him in my office, surrounded by scattered papers. Early drafts of my screenplay, notes, character sketches. "You can't do this," he said without looking up. "You'll ruin everything." "You already did that." He held up a page. "Is this how you see me? A narcissist who trades authenticity for applause?" "If the description fits." "Mom," Megan appeared in the doorway. I tried to stop him. "It's okay, honey." I kept my eyes on Nathan. "Your father was just leaving. Not without these." He gathered the papers. "I'm taking them to my lawyer. Those are copies." I smiled, thinking of the final draft safely stored in multiple cloud accounts. The real script is already with the network. Signed, sealed, and in development. He froze. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" "You taught me well, Nathan. About performing, about timing, about waiting for the perfect moment to deliver the killing line." "This isn't one of your plays." "No," I agreed. "It's better, because this time, I'm writing the ending." He stood, papers crumpling in his fists. "I'll stop you." "Like you stopped Olivia from coming to the network meeting today?" I watched his face pale. "She sends her regards, by the way. Something about how you never really loved her." Megan made a small sound. Nathan turned to her, reaching out, but she backed away. "Princess, don't." She moved to stand beside me. "Just don't." Nathan looked between us, his actor's composure cracking. Without another word, he dropped the papers and left. The front door slammed. His car started. Megan picked up one of the scattered pages. Scene 4. A daughter realizes her father's greatest performance was being a father at all. "We can change that line," I said softly. "No." She handed me the page. "It's perfect. It's authentic." I took the paper, thinking of contracts and lawyers and consequences. But for the first time in 20 years, I felt real. Unscripted. Free. Opening night of Betrayal at the community theater. I sat in the back row, watching my husband perform opposite his mistress, speaking lines about infidelity and deception while the audience leaned forward in their seats, oblivious to the real drama unfolding before them. My phone vibrated. "Lucas, network lawyers want to meet. Tomorrow. It's urgent." Another message, from my corporate boss, Pauline. "Need to discuss your extended leave request. HR involvement likely." Then Megan. "Dad's lawyer called. Says you have to stop the project or they'll take everything." The irony of watching Nathan perform this particular play wasn't lost on me. Harold Pinter would have appreciated the layers of betrayal happening on and off stage. I certainly did. During intermission, I slipped backstage, muscle memory guiding me through the familiar corridors. Nathan's dressing room door stood ajar. Inside, Olivia perched on his makeup counter while he paced. "They can't prove it's about us," she was saying. "It's just a story." "You don't know, Val," Nathan replied. "Every detail will be perfect, every accusation crafted to—" He stopped when he saw me. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting local theater." I leaned against the doorframe. "Brilliant performance, by the way. Both of you." The scene where Emma confesses her affair, almost believed it. Olivia slid off the counter. "I should stay." I smiled. "This concerns you too." The network loves the script, by the way. Especially the part where the younger actress realizes she's just another stepping stone in an aging actor's desperate grab at relevance. "You vindictive bitch," Nathan snarled, dropping his cultivated stage voice. "You think you can just destroy everything I've built?" "Everything we built," I corrected. "Or did you forget who paid for your first headshots? Who covered the mortgage while you did unpaid theater work? Who raised your daughter while you chased fame?" "Mom?" I turned. Megan stood in the hallway, still wearing her theater volunteer badge. Her face was pale, makeup streaked with tears. "Honey," Nathan started. "Don't." She looked past him to Olivia. "I trusted you. You said you were helping him with character work, that all those private rehearsals were necessary." "Megan, it's complicated," Olivia tried. "No, it's not." Megan's voice cracked. "It's actually really simple. You're both liars." A stagehand appeared. 5 minutes to places. Nathan reached for his daughter, but she backed away. "Princess, please." "Stop acting!" Megan shouted. Heads turned in the hallway. "Just stop! For once in your life, be real!" She ran. Nathan moved to follow, but I blocked him. You have a show to finish. Isn't that what matters most? This isn't over, he growled. My lawyer will sue me? Expose me? Go ahead. I stepped closer. But remember who taught me about timing, about building tension, about waiting for the perfect moment to deliver the killing blow. You made me a better writer, Nathan. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment of gaslighting. It's all there in the script. Your greatest performance. Preserved forever. The stagehand called again. Nathan's jaw clenched. You'll lose everything. I already did. I turned to leave, then paused. Break a leg. Again. I mean that literally. Outside, I found Megan in my car, sobbing. I slid into the driver's seat but didn't start the engine. I posted about it, she whispered. The truth. About Dad and Olivia, about your script, everything. My phone started buzzing with notifications. Local theater groups, Nathan's fan pages, entertainment blogs, all lighting up with the story. I'm sorry, Megan said. I just couldn't watch them pretend anymore. I pulled her close, feeling her tears soak my shoulder. Through the windshield, I watched the theater's marquee lights blink against the darkening sky. 20 years ago, Nathan and I had kissed under those lights, both of us dreaming of bigger stages, brighter futures. My phone kept buzzing. Lucas, the network, lawyers, reporters, all wanting answers, explanations, statements. The story was breaking, but not the way I'd planned. Not through my carefully crafted screenplay, but through my daughter's raw, unfiltered truth. I started the car. Sometimes the best revenge isn't the one you plan. Sometimes it's the one that happens when you finally stop performing and let the truth speak for itself. Let's go home, I said. The real show's about to begin. The network executives sat around the conference table, my screenplay spread before them like evidence at a trial. Nathan's lawyer stood at the window, his reflection a dark smudge against the city skyline. Lucas hadn't shown up. Mrs. Martin, the lawyer said, my client is willing to be generous despite your creative interpretation of events. I traced the title page of my script. Generous how? Full ownership of the house, a substantial settlement. All he asks is that you shelve the screenplay. The head executive, Sarah Chen, cleared her throat. Given the legal complications, we're considering postponing development. You can't. I pulled out my phone, opened Megan's viral post. The story's already out there. 3 million views since last night. Every major entertainment blog is running with it. Which is why, the lawyer interjected, we need to contain this quickly. The conference room door opened. Nathan walked in, followed by Olivia. He'd aged overnight, his carefully maintained appearance cracking around the edges. No makeup could hide the defeat in his eyes. Val, he said softly, please. The network's offering 7 figures, Sarah said, for exclusive rights. We'll bury it. Everyone saves face. I looked at Olivia, who wouldn't meet my eyes. Nothing to add? No more performances to give? I never meant, she started. To get caught? To become part of someone else's story instead of the star of your own? I stood. Neither did I. But here we are. Think about Megan, Nathan pleaded. I am thinking about Megan. About what you taught her about truth, about authenticity, about... The door opened again. Lucas entered, followed by Pauline Carter, my corporate boss. Sorry we're late, Lucas said. Had to pick up your biggest fan. Pauline strode to the table, her heels clicking like punctuation marks. I just read the script, all of it, including the parts about the corporate wife who enables her husband's dreams while suppressing her own. She turned to Sarah. If you don't produce this, we will. You don't have the rights, Nathan's lawyer started. Actually, Lucas pulled out a document. We do. Valeria signed with my production company last night, and Pauline's media conglomerate just acquired us. Nathan slumped in his chair. You planned this. No, I smiled. That's the beauty of it. Sometimes the truth creates its own momentum. Like your performance last night, the one you couldn't finish because the audience started reading Megan's post mid-show. Art imitating life, imitating art. The settlement offer stands, his lawyer insisted. Counteroffer. I opened my laptop, turned it toward them. I just finished the final scene. Want to hear it? Nobody spoke. I read anyway. Interior. Conference room. Day. A woman faces the people who tried to silence her story. She realizes that revenge isn't about destroying someone else's narrative. It's about finally telling your own. "That's it?" Olivia asked. "That's it. No dramatic confrontations, no public humiliation, just the truth, finally spoken aloud." I closed the laptop. "The rest is up to the audience." "You'll regret this," Nathan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Maybe, but I regret the last 20 years more." I gathered my things. "Pauline, Lucas, shall we discuss production schedules?" As we left, Sarah called out, "What about the network deal?" I paused at the door. "Submit a bid like everyone else. I hear there's quite a bidding war starting. Something about authenticity being very marketable these days." In the elevator, Pauline squeezed my arm. "You know what impressed me most? That scene where the wife realizes her corporate job wasn't a compromise. It was preparation, learning to navigate power plays, to recognize manipulation, to stand her ground. I had a good teacher. You had good material." Lucas grinned. "Though I still think we should end with the theater scene." "No." I watched the numbers descend. "Let the audience write their own ending. That's what Nathan never understood. The best stories don't tell people what to think. They make them feel what's true." My phone buzzed. "Megan. Dad's moving out. Can we order pizza and work on my college applications? I'm thinking of majoring in creative writing." I showed the message to Lucas and Pauline. They both nodded, understanding. "Now that," I said, "is what I call a satisfying third act." The elevator doors opened to a lobby full of reporters. Time for one final performance. This time, as myself. The premiere screening room hummed with anticipation. My screenplay, authentic performance, filled the screen while critics and industry executives whispered in the darkness. In the back row, Megan squeezed my hand as the final scene played out. On screen, the wife confronted her husband not with rage or accusations, but with silence. The kind that forces people to fill it with truth. Just like I'd done in real life. The lights came up. Applause erupted. But I watched Nathan's empty seat in the third row. He'd received an invitation but chosen not to come. His latest Instagram post showed him at a regional theater in Ohio, playing Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. Fitting. "Mom?" Megan nodded toward the exit where Olivia stood, looking uncertain. "Go ahead," I said to Lucas and Pauline. "We'll meet you at the reception." Olivia approached as the room emptied. She'd lost the careful polish I remembered, looked younger somehow. More real. "I didn't expect to be written so fairly," she said. "The truth was dramatic enough without embellishment. Nathan called me yesterday, asked me to tell you he's sorry." "Of course he did," I smiled. "Still casting others in his scenes? He's different now, smaller somehow. That's what happens when you step out of the spotlight and into yourself." Megan stood. "We should go. The critics will want interviews." Olivia touched my arm. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry too. Not just for the affair, but for not seeing what he was doing to both of us, making us compete for supporting roles in his story." "Keep that insight," I said. "It'll make you a better actress." At the reception, champagne flowed while early reviews rolled in. Brutally honest. A masterclass in understated revenge. A meditation on authenticity in an age of performance. Lucas raised his glass. "To your next screenplay?" "Actually," I pulled out my phone, showed him the email I'd received that morning. "The theater department at Megan's future college wants me to teach a workshop about writing truth in fiction. Mom's going to help me adapt my college application essay into a one-act play," Megan added, "about watching your heroes become human." Pauline joined us, brandishing her tablet. Social media's exploding. Nathan's trending, but not how he would have wanted. People are sharing their own stories of betrayal and redemption. "That's the thing about truth," I said. "It echoes." My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. "Watching it now. You made me better than I deserved." I showed Megan the message. She read it, then deleted it. Some performances don't need an encore. Later, walking home through city streets, I remembered that first text I'd found on Nathan's phone, the one that started everything. "Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Last night was magical. Love you." Such simple words, such devastating power, like the words I'd written in response, scenes and dialogue that had transformed my pain into purpose. "What are you thinking about?" Megan asked. "The difference between revenge and justice." And Revenge is what we imagine will heal us. Justice is what actually does. She linked her arm through mine. Is that why you didn't destroy him completely? You could have made him the villain. The best stories don't have villains, I said. Just people failing to be their best selves, sometimes spectacularly. We reached our front door. Through the window, I could see my laptop on the coffee table, waiting. Another screenplay taking shape in my mind, this one about mothers and daughters and the stories we inherit. Ready to work on that one act? I asked. Megan grinned. Only if you promise to be honest about how you really felt. No performing. Deal. I opened the door to our house, our future, our truth. Though sometimes the most authentic thing we can do is admit we're still rehearsing. The night air carried the faint sound of applause from the reception, but I was already thinking about tomorrow's scenes, tomorrow's words, tomorrow's truths. Some stories end with revenge, others with redemption. The best ones end with possibility. The next act waiting in the wings, raw and real and ready to begin.
The lock clicked open with a familiar sound, but everything else felt wrong. Mother's house key felt heavier in my hand, weighted with finality. I pushed open the front door, and the wrongness hit me like a physical force. Gone was the gentle scent of lavender that had always perfumed these halls. Instead, an artificial pine freshener assaulted my nose. The walls, once adorned with my mother's cherished art collection, now displayed generic landscape prints in gaudy gold frames. "Jenna, we weren't expecting you until tomorrow." My father's voice carried from the kitchen, casual as if he hadn't abandoned us 10 years ago. "I'm Jenna, and this was supposed to be my homecoming." Instead, I stood frozen in my mother's foyer. No, my foyer now, staring at the stranger who shared my DNA. "Surprise," I said, my voice flat. "Where's Laura?" "She's upstairs, settling in. Listen, sweetheart." "Don't call me that." The words shot out before I could stop them. "Why are you here, Mark?" He flinched at the use of his first name. Good. Let him feel a fraction of the pain he'd caused. "Your mother and I had an arrangement," he said, running his hand through his graying hair. "Laura and I would help maintain the property in her final months." Final months? I stepped closer, my boots clicking against the hardwood floors Mother had lovingly restored. "She died suddenly. There were no final months." A shadow crossed his face. "Well, yes, but—" "Mark, who are you talking to?" Laura's voice drifted down the stairs, followed by her perfectly manicured presence. Her face tightened when she saw me. "Oh, Jenna, how unexpected." "It's my house," I said. "I don't need an invitation." Laura's laugh was like breaking glass. "Of course not, dear. We're just trying to help. Your mother would have wanted—" "Don't." My voice shook. "Don't you dare tell me what my mother would have wanted." "Now, Jenna." Mark stepped between us, playing peacemaker like he hadn't been the one to shatter our family in the first place. "We thought it would be easier if we were already moved in when you arrived, help you transition." "Moved in?" The words didn't make sense. "You're not staying here." "Actually," Laura smiled, all teeth and triumph, "we are. Your father and I discussed it, and we think it's best if we all live here together, as a family." A door creaked upstairs, and a young woman appeared. Emily, my half-sister, the replacement child. She looked between us, anxiety written across her features. "The will hasn't even been read," I said, my hands clenching into fists. "This is my inheritance." "About that," Mark cleared his throat. "There might be some complications." The world tilted sideways. "What complications?" "Nothing for you to worry about right now," Laura cut in smoothly. "Why don't you take your old room? We've kept it exactly as you left it." I looked at her, really looked at her. The careful makeup, the expensive clothes, the calculating eyes. Then at Mark, shifting his weight, avoiding my gaze. Finally, at Emily, who seemed to be trying to disappear into the wallpaper. "My mother's death certificate listed natural causes," I said slowly. "But there was nothing natural about it, was there?" The silence that followed was deafening. "I think," Laura said finally, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes cold. "You should be very careful about what you're implying." "Or what?" "Or you might find yourself with nothing at all." She gestured around the foyer. "Your mother made some interesting decisions near the end. It would be a shame if certain documents came to light." I felt the trap closing around me, saw the gleam of victory in Laura's eyes, the guilt in Mark's face. Even Emily looked away. "Fine," I said, the word tasting like ash. "I'll stay, for now." Laura's smile widened. "Welcome home, dear. I'm sure we'll all get along famously." I climbed the stairs to my old room, each step an effort. But as I reached the landing, I made a silent promise to my mother. They thought they had won, but they didn't know me. They didn't know what I was capable of. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. 3 days into our forced cohabitation, and Laura had already rearranged Mother's kitchen. I stood in the doorway, watching her sort through the spice rack, tossing bottles into a cardboard box. "These are all expired," she announced without looking up. "Really, your mother should have been more organized." My fingers curled around the door frame. "Those aren't expired. They're homegrown. The dates are when she planted them." Laura's perfectly manicured hand paused mid-toss. "Oh, well, they're taking up too much space. I need room for my own things." The sound of the front door opening saved me from responding. Mark walked in, briefcase in hand, Emily trailing behind him like a shadow. "Everything okay in here?" He glanced between us, already playing mediator. "Perfectly fine," Laura chirped. "Just doing some much-needed organizing. This kitchen was chaos." "This kitchen was home," I muttered, moving to rescue Mother's prized rosemary. Laura's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. "Careful, dear. Wouldn't want you to hurt yourself." The threat in her voice was subtle but clear. I yanked my hand back, catching Emily's wide-eyed stare from across the room. "I'm making dinner tonight," Laura continued. "Family meal, non-negotiable." "I have plans with Mia." "Cancel them?" She smiled, all teeth. "Family comes first, doesn't it, Mark?" He cleared his throat. "Listen to your stepmother, Jenna." The word stepmother hit like a slap. I turned to leave, but Laura's voice followed me. "Oh, and Jenna, I'll need your mother's old study. I'm turning it into my home office." I froze. The study was sacred ground, Mother's sanctuary, filled with her books, her papers, her life's work. "No." "No?" Laura's eyebrows arched. "I don't think you understand. This isn't a request. And this isn't your house." I spun around. "Those aren't your things to throw away or change or—" "Actually," Mark cut in, "according to the preliminary paperwork." "What paperwork?" Silence fell. Mark and Laura exchanged glances. "Show me," I demanded. "It's complicated, sweetheart," Mark began. "Stop calling me that. Show me the paperwork." Laura sighed dramatically. "Emily, go to your room." "I want to stay," Emily said quietly, the first words I'd heard from her since I arrived. "Room, now." Emily hesitated, then slipped past me, her shoulder brushing mine. For a moment, I felt something pressed into my hand, a folded piece of paper. "The situation is delicate," Laura said, drawing my attention back. "Your mother made some questionable decisions near the end. The house's ownership isn't as straightforward as you might think." "You're lying." "Am I?" She pulled open a drawer, retrieved a folder. "See for yourself." The documents inside were legal gibberish, but one thing stood out. Mother's signature, shaky and uncertain. Nothing like her usual confident scrawl. "This isn't real," I said, but doubt crept in. "She wouldn't," but she did. Laura's voice dripped false sympathy. "She knew she needed help managing things. That's why she reached out to us." "She never mentioned you, never said anything about—" "Because she was protecting you," Mark said. "She didn't want you to worry." I looked between them. Laura's smug satisfaction, Mark's practiced concern. The paper Emily had slipped me burned in my pocket. "Fine," I said finally. Keep the study. Keep whatever you want. Laura's triumph was immediate. I knew you'd be reasonable. Now, about dinner. I still have plans. I headed for the stairs, their protests following me up. In my room, I unfolded Emily's note. The handwriting was rushed, urgent. Check the loose floorboard under Mom's desk. There's something you need to see. I pressed the paper to my chest, heart pounding. For the first time since arriving, I felt something besides anger and grief, hope. Mother had always been methodical, always had a backup plan. Laura's voice carried up the stairs, discussing renovation plans with Mark. Let them plot. Let them think they'd won. Tonight, after their precious family dinner, I'd find out what Mother had hidden away, and then we'd see who really owned this house. The bank statement spread across my bedroom floor told a story that made my blood run cold. Mother's careful financial records, hidden exactly where Emily said they'd be, revealed a pattern of withdrawals starting 3 months before her death. Large sums transferred to an account I didn't recognize. My phone buzzed. Mia's text read, "Found something. Meet me at Riverside Cafe. Now." I crept downstairs, past Laura and Mark's bedroom, where their muffled voices leaked through the door. "She's getting too close," Laura was saying. "We need to—" "I'll handle it," Mark interrupted. "Just stick to the plan." The front door creaked despite my careful exit. Outside, Tom, our neighbor, was watering his lawn in the dark. Odd for 10 at night. He watched me walk to my car, phone pressed to his ear. Mia waited at our usual corner table, laptop open. "Your father's company filed for bankruptcy last year," she said without preamble. "But get this, 2 months before your mom died, he suddenly paid off all his debts." The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. "How much?" "Nearly $500,000. She turned the screen toward me. "The same amount missing from your mom's accounts." "There's more." I pulled out the documents I'd found. "Look at these signatures, the transfer authorizations, the power of attorney. They're all dated after she started showing symptoms. When her hands were shaking too badly to write properly." Mia finished. The cafe door chimed. Emily walked in looking nervous. She slid into our booth without invitation. "Mom's planning something," she whispered. I heard her on the phone with someone named Davidson. Something about finalizing paperwork tomorrow. Davidson? Mia's fingers flew across her keyboard. James Davidson, the real estate developer? My stomach dropped. "The one buying up all the historic properties downtown?" Emily nodded. "They're meeting at his office at noon. Mom thinks I'm at study group, but I followed her last time. She's been there before." "Why are you helping me?" I asked suddenly. "They're your parents." Emily's hands trembled around her untouched water glass. "Because I was there the night before your mom died. I heard them arguing about the house, about money. Mom said something about making it look natural. I didn't understand then, but now—" The cafe seemed to tilt sideways. "You think Laura—" "I don't know," Emily cut in quickly. "But I found these in her desk." She slid a pharmacy receipt across the table. Prescription medications filled the day before Mother died. "The toxicology report," I whispered. "We need to get—" The cafe door chimed again. Laura walked in, her heels clicking against the floor. Emily went pale. "What a coincidence," Laura said, her smile sharp as broken glass. "Family meeting without the whole family?" "Just catching up," I said, but Emily was already gathering her things, avoiding her mother's gaze. "Emily, the car's outside, now." Laura's voice left no room for argument. To me, she added, "Oh, and Jenna, your father wants to discuss the Davidson contract tomorrow, noon sharp." After they left, Mia gripped my hand. "You can't sign anything." "I won't." I stared at the documents scattered between our coffee cups. "But I need to be at that meeting. I need to know what they're planning." "It's dangerous. If Laura really did—" "My mother's dead," I cut her off, "and they're about to sell her house to a developer who'll tear it down. I need proof, Mia. Real proof." And then what? The question hung between us. Through the cafe window, I watched Laura's car pull away, Emily's silhouette rigid in the passenger seat. In my pocket, the forged signatures seemed to burn against my leg. Then I take everything from them, I said, just like they took everything from her. Mia closed her laptop. The police won't help without evidence, but tomorrow at Davidson's office, I pulled out my phone, scrolling through contacts until I found the name I needed. I think it's time I had a conversation with Tham. He's been watching this house for years. He must know something. Be careful, Mia warned. You're playing a dangerous game. I looked at the prescription receipt at the date that marked my mother's last day alive. They started this game, I said. I'm just making sure they lose. Tom's backyard was a mess of half-finished projects, but his kitchen was military neat. He poured coffee into a chipped mug, hands steady despite the late hour. Your mother came to me first, he said, about the missing money. When? Week before she died. Said Mark had been pressuring her to sign some papers. She refused. He set the mug down hard enough to slosh coffee onto the counter. Next thing I know, she's dead and they're moving in. Why didn't you tell the police? With what proof? His laugh was bitter. Look, I've known Mark longer than you've been alive. Back when we were partners in the construction business, before he embezzled half our savings and left me to face the creditors. The pieces clicked together. That's why you've been watching the house. Waiting for history to repeat itself. He pulled out a folder. These are copies of everything I've gathered. Bank records, business dealings, phone logs. But there's something else. A key slid across the table. Your mother gave me this. Said if anything happened to her, I should make sure you got it. Safety deposit box at First National. My phone buzzed. Emily. Mom found the papers in your room. She's destroying everything. I have to go. I grabbed the key, my hands shaking. Thank you for... Wait. Tom caught my arm. There's more. Laura. She's not who she claims to be. Her real name is... Headlights swept across the kitchen windows. A car door slammed. That's Mark's car, Tom whispered. Out the back. Now. I slipped through the dark yard, heart pounding. Through the neighbor's hedge, I watched Mark stride up Tom's walkway, Laura right behind him. The house was dark when I returned, except for light spilling from my room. I crept upstairs, hearing papers rustling. Find it? Mark's voice drifted down the hall. Nothing useful. Laura sounded frustrated. But she knows something. That little coffee shop meeting with Emily. Emily? Mark's voice sharpened. What was she doing there? Being a naive little fool, like always. But don't worry, I've handled it. My blood ran cold. I pulled out my phone, texted Emily. No response. We need to move faster, Laura continued. Davidson won't wait forever. The house isn't even in our name yet. It will be, once we get rid of our little problem. I backed away, but the floor creaked. The rustling stopped. Jenna, Mark called. Is that you? I ran. Down the stairs, through the kitchen, out the back door. Behind me, footsteps thundered. My car was blocked in by Mark's. I sprinted toward the street, but Laura's voice rang out. Emily won't answer her phone, will she? I stopped dead. Come inside, dear. Let's talk about your sister's safety. I turned slowly. Laura stood on the porch, her smile triumphant. Mark hovered behind her, looking uncertain. What did you do to her? Nothing permanent yet? She held up her phone. She's having a lovely sleepover at Davidson's lake house. Very remote, very private. You're bluffing. A video appeared on her screen. Emily, unconscious on an unfamiliar couch. Inside now. I walked back like a puppet on strings. In the kitchen, Laura pulled out a stack of papers. Sign these and Emily comes home. Refuse. She shrugged. Accidents happen. Mark, I turned to my father. She's your daughter. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Just sign the papers, Jenna, please. I looked at the documents. Property transfer, power of attorney. liability waivers, everything they needed to take the house, to erase Mother's last wishes. "You killed her, didn't you?" I said to Laura. "My mother, you killed her for this house." "Prove it." Her smile never wavered. "Oh, wait, I destroyed all your evidence. Now sign." I picked up the pen, my mother's voice echoing in my head. "Sometimes, sweetheart, you have to lose a battle to win the war." I signed. Laura gathered the papers, practically glowing. "See, that wasn't so hard." "Emily," I said, "bring her home. Tomorrow, after we filed these." She patted my cheek. "Sweet dreams, dear." They left me alone in the kitchen. I pulled out Tom's key, thinking of the safety deposit box, of Emily's fear, of Mother's last days. Tomorrow, they'd learn what it meant to truly lose everything. The safety deposit box held one item, a USB drive labeled insurance. I plugged it into my laptop at First National's private viewing room, hands trembling. Video files filled the screen, security footage from Mother's home office, dated weeks before her death. Laura's voice came through clearly. "Just sign the papers, Catherine. Make this easier on everyone." "Get out of my house!" Mother's voice was weak but determined. "Your daughter doesn't need this burden. Let Mark handle everything." Like he handled his construction company with Tom? Laura's face hardened. "Careful, Catherine. Accidents happen to people who dig too deep." The timestamp jumped forward 2 days. Mother was alone, speaking directly to the camera. "Jenna, if you're watching this, they've already made their move. The proof you need is in Davidson's office, project files from 2012, Mark's original fraud, Laura's real identity, everything." The door opened behind her. The video cut out. My phone buzzed. Mia. "Emily's awake. Tracked her phone to Davidson's lake house. Police won't help without proof of danger." Another message followed. "Tom's gone. His house is empty." I dialed Emily's number again. This time, she answered. "Don't come here," she whispered. "Mom's planning." The line went dead. The bank's fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright, too exposing. I copied the files and headed for the exit, but froze at the sight of Mark waiting by my car. "We need to talk," he said. "About what? How you helped Laura kill my mother?" "You don't understand. Laura, she's not who you think she is." "Then who is she?" "Someone dangerous." His voice cracked. "Someone who's done this before." A black SUV pulled up. Laura stepped out, her smile predatory. "Having a father-daughter moment?" "Stay back," Mark warned, stepping between us. Laura laughed. "Oh, Mark, still playing protector?" She pulled out her phone. "Emily's getting quite bored at the lake house. Should I ask Davidson to entertain her?" "Touch her and I'll—" "You'll what?" She held up the property papers I'd signed. "These make everything legal. The house, the land, all of it. By tonight, Davidson's demolition crew moves in." "Demolition?" Mark turned pale. "That wasn't the deal." "Deals change." She checked her watch. "Speaking of which, the police should be finding Tom's body right about now. Tragic accident. He really should have been more careful on those stairs." The world tilted. Tom's final warning about Laura's real identity echoed in my head. "You're Catherine's daughter, aren't you?" I said quietly. "The one who disappeared after her husband died mysteriously 20 years ago." Laura's smile vanished. Mark stepped back, realization dawning on his face. "Mother knew," I continued. "She recognized you somehow. That's why you had to silence her." "Clever girl." Laura's hand moved to her purse. "Just like your mother, too clever for her own good." "The police will find evidence of Tom's gambling debts, his suicide note, just like they found your mother's prescription overdose." She moved closer. "The question is, what will they find when they investigate your accident?" Mark grabbed her arm. "This ends now." "No," she pushed him away. "It ends when I say it ends. Just like before." My phone buzzed again. Emily. Got away. Don't trust Mom. She killed. Laura's hand shot out, snatching my phone. Emily needs to learn obedience, like mother, like daughter. She's your child. She's a liability, like you. She turned to Mark. Choose now, her or me. Mark looked between us, 26 years of absence hanging in the air. I'm sorry, Jenna, he whispered, stepping beside Laura. Good choice. Laura smiled. Now, Jenna, about that USB drive. I backed away, Mother's last message burning in my mind. Davidson's office, the proof. You can have it, I said. It's in my car. As they moved toward my vehicle, I ran. Behind me, Laura's laugh echoed off the bank's marble walls. Run all you want, dear. But remember, I know where Emily is, and accidents happen so easily at lake houses. I didn't stop running. Emily was out there somewhere. The proof waited in Davidson's office, and Mother's voice guided me forward. Sometimes, sweetheart, the best revenge is letting them think they've won. Davidson's office loomed before me, its windows dark except for one, third floor, corner office, where Mother said the proof would be, where Emily's text had originated. I picked the service entrance lock, a skill learned from Tham before Laura had gotten to him. The stairwell camera's red light was dead. Mia's handiwork with the security system. Voices echoed down the hall as I reached the third floor. The demolition crew is ready, Davidson's voice. Once the house is gone, the evidence disappears. And my daughter? Laura, still sedated. She won't remember anything about tonight. I edged closer, phone recording. And the other one? Davidson again. Jenna? Laura's laugh sent ice through my veins. Currently hunting ghosts in your filing room. Mark's watching the entrance. My father's voice joined them. This isn't what we agreed. Shut up, Mark. You lost your vote when you let Catherine figure it out. I reached the filing room, fingers trembling as I searched for 2012. The drawer was empty. Looking for these? I spun around. Laura stood in the doorway, holding a thick folder. Behind her, Mark wouldn't meet my eyes. Mother knew what you were, I said. Catherine's daughter, the one who killed her own father. Stepfather, Laura corrected. Just like I killed his first wife, Catherine. Just like I killed your mother. Family tradition, you might say. Why? Money, power. The thrill of watching people realize too late who I really am. She dropped the folder into a metal trash can. Want to know how your mother looked when she finally understood? Stop, Mark pleaded. No, let's tell her everything. Laura struck a match. How Catherine begged for her daughter's life. How easily the prescription drugs mixed into her evening tea. The folder caught fire. How Tham figured it out too late. She smiled. Poor Tham. Those stairs were so treacherous. Emily knows, I said. She'll tell. Emily won't remember anything after her unfortunate overdose tonight. Tragic, really. Following in her sister's footsteps. Sister. That's right, Laura's eyes glittered. Emily is Catherine's daughter, too. My little sister, hidden away all these years, until I found her. The room spun. Emily, my sister, Mother's daughter. Mark knew, Laura continued. He helped hide her back then. His payment for embezzling from Tham. One secret for another. I tried to protect her, Mark whispered. Both of them. By letting their mother die? He flinched. Enough talking. Laura pulled out a syringe. Time to join the family tradition. I backed away, but Mark grabbed my arms. I'm sorry, he said. She'll kill Emily if I don't. I fought, but Laura was already moving forward, needle ready. A gunshot cracked through the room. Laura staggered, blood blooming on her shoulder. Behind her, Emily stood in the doorway, Tham's gun steady in her hands. Get away from my sister, she said. Laura lunged, another shot. This time she fell. Mark released me, rushing to Laura's side. Emily's hands shook. "The police are coming," she said. "Mia called them. We have proof, everything, the videos, the files Tom saved." "Tom's dead," I said. "No," Emily smiled shakily. "He's downstairs with Davidson, very much alive and very ready to testify." Laura laughed, blood staining her teeth. "You think this changes anything? The house is still mine. The demolition is canceled." Tom's voice came from the hallway. "Along with your entire operation, Sarah Williams. Or should I say, Laura Davidson?" "Davidson?" I turned to Emily. "James Davidson's first wife," she explained. "Before she killed him and stole his company, before she found Mark and learned about her sister's daughter, me." Laura's face contorted. "You were mine, my second chance." "I was never yours," Emily said, "and now everyone will know exactly who you are." Police sirens wailed outside. Laura's eyes met mine, all pretense gone. "You think this is over?" she snarled. "You think you've won?" I picked up the burning folder, now only half destroyed. "Yes," I said, "I do." "Why?" "Because Mother taught me something you never learned." I watched the evidence of her crimes smolder. Real family protects each other. They don't destroy each other. The police burst in, and Laura's facade finally shattered completely. In her eyes, I saw what Mother must have seen at the end. Not a monster, but something far more dangerous. A broken woman who'd never understood what family truly meant. Emily took my hand as they led Laura away. Behind us, the sun rose over Mother's house. Still standing, still ours, still home. The prison visiting room smelled of bleach and desperation. Laura sat across from me, orange jumpsuit stark against her pale skin, handcuffs glinting under fluorescent lights. "Come to gloat?" Her voice was hoarse, but her eyes still burned. "I need to know why." I placed Mother's photo on the table between us. "The whole truth." "Truth?" She laughed. "Which one? How I killed my stepfather when I was 17, how I found Emily, my sister's secret daughter, and molded her into my own? Or how your precious mother figured it all out?" "Start with Emily." Laura's fingers twitched toward the photo. The guard tensed. "Catherine was always the golden child," she said. "Even after she got pregnant at 16, they protected her, hid her away, gave her baby to a friend to raise, Mark." Her smile turned cruel. "He never told you why he really left, did he?" The pieces clicked. Mother found out. She recognized Emily. The resemblance to Catherine was striking. Laura leaned forward. "I spent years tracking my sister's child. When I found Mark, it was almost too perfect. He needed money. I needed access. Emily needed a mother. She had a mother. You killed her. Catherine was weak, like your mother. Both of them so concerned with doing the right thing." She spat the words. "They never understood. Family is power, control." "Is that why you're here now? To maintain control?" Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" I pulled out another photo, security footage from Davidson's office, dated last night. Laura's attorney passing her something during a consultation. "Tom's been watching The Office," I said. "Even from jail, you couldn't resist trying to destroy one last thing." "You don't know what you're talking about." "The demolition crew, the one you hired to accidentally start a fire at the house tonight, during Emily's welcome home party." The mask slipped, just for a moment, but I saw it. The rage, the desperation. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "That house holds secrets you can't imagine, documents, evidence, things that would destroy more than just me." "Like these?" I slid forward one final photo, the hidden safe in Mother's study, open and empty. Laura's composure shattered. "When?" "This morning. Everything's gone. Everything you tried to hide about Catherine, about Emily's real parents, about all the others you've destroyed." I stood. "It's over." "Wait," her voice cracked. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing." "Nothing?" "The evidence is where it needs to be. Emily is home. The house is safe. I gathered the photos. You've lost everything, Laura, just like you made others lose everything. That's punishment enough. You're lying. You want revenge. What I want is to go home, to my sister, to the life you tried to steal. I turned to leave. Goodbye, Laura. I'll tell them everything, she shouted. About Mark, about Tom's part in it all. They already know. Mark confessed this morning. Tom testified an hour ago. I looked back one last time. That's the difference between us. Real family protects each other, even when it costs them everything. The guard moved to escort me out, but Laura's voice followed. She cried for you, your mother, at the end, begged me not to hurt her daughters. I stopped. She died thinking she failed to protect you both. My hands shook, but I kept walking. Outside, Emily waited by the car. Did she tell you? Everything. I handed her the photos. About Catherine, about why she really targeted our family. Emily stared at our mother's picture. What do we do now? My phone buzzed. Mia. Demolition crew intercepted. Fire marshal found the accelerant. It's done. Now, I said, we go home. We honor both our mothers. And we live, really live, knowing Laura will spend the rest of her life watching us be the family she never understood. As we drove away, I glimpsed Laura at her window, a small figure growing smaller, her power finally reduced to nothing but bitter memories and prison walls. Emily squeezed my hand. In her face, I saw echoes of Catherine, of Mother, of the strength that Laura had tried to destroy, but had only made stronger. Together? She asked. Together, I answered, and drove toward home. The lavender bloomed exactly where Mother had planted it. Emily knelt beside the garden bed, carefully transplanting the new seedlings, while Mia documented everything for the Historical Society's preservation records. Found another one, Tom called from the porch, holding up a hidden camera, the last of Laura's surveillance network. He dropped it into a box already full of similar devices. I stood in Mother's study, now restored to its former glory, except for one addition, a framed photo of Catherine, Emily's birth mother, placed beside Mother's desk. Two women who'd loved their daughters enough to die protecting them. The doorbell rang. Mark stood outside, looking older than his years in his court-mandated monitoring device. The prosecutor offered a deal, he said without preamble. Full testimony against Laura's other crimes in exchange for house arrest. And I turned it down. Taking responsibility means accepting consequences. He handed me an envelope. The last of the documentation you'll need. Property deeds, bank records, everything. From the garden, Emily watched us, her expression guarded. She asks about you, I said. She shouldn't. He stepped back. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some fathers don't deserve forgiveness. No, I agreed, but some daughters need closure anyway. He nodded once, then walked away. Emily returned to her planting, but her shoulders relaxed slightly. Inside, I found a letter mixed in with Mark's documents, written in Mother's hand, dated the day before she died. My dearest Jenna, by now you know about Emily, about Catherine, about the web of lies that brought us here. But there's one truth Laura never understood. Family isn't about control or power. It's about choice. I chose to protect Catherine's daughter when she couldn't. I chose to love you both as my own. And now you must choose, not between justice and mercy, but between letting revenge consume you or letting it teach you. The house is yours, both of yours. Make it a home again. All my love, Mom. A noise made me look up. Emily stood in the doorway, dirt still on her hands. I remember her, she said quietly. Catherine, not clearly, but feelings, moments, like the way she smelled of lavender too. I held out the letter. She read it, tears falling onto the paper. Laura wanted me to be Catherine's replacement, she whispered. But your mother, our mother, She just wanted me to be me. That's why Laura hated her. Mom saw through the control, the manipulation. She saw what family really means. Emily traced Mother's signature. Do you think we can? Make it a home again? Through the window, I watched Tom and Mia working together, erasing Laura's presence piece by piece. The garden bloomed, Mother's legacy growing stronger with each new plant. Even Mark's silhouette, retreating down the street, seemed more like a closed chapter than an open wound. I think, I said, we already are. Emily hugged the letter close. I keep expecting to feel different. After everything, learning about Catherine, watching Laura's sentencing, understanding what they all did to protect me, shouldn't I feel different? I thought of Laura in her prison cell, still trying to control us even now. Of Mark, choosing punishment over escape. Of Mother and Catherine, two women who'd sacrificed everything for love rather than power. Maybe that's the point, I said. We're not different. We're just more ourselves than they ever wanted us to be. The doorbell rang again. The Historical Society Committee come to officially designate the house as a protected property. Soon, they'd ensure no one could ever destroy this place or its memories. But first, I had one last thing to do. In Mother's desk drawer, I found her old garden journal. On the last page, I wrote, "The lavender blooms again. Emily tends it now, just as you did, just as Catherine might have. The house stands strong, protecting new memories while honoring old ones. And we understand now what you tried to teach us. That true power isn't in revenge or control, but in the choice to love, despite everything that says we shouldn't. We chose to be sisters. We choose to make this a home. We choose to live." I closed the journal and joined Emily in the garden, where Mother's lavender scented the air with memories of all the women who'd loved us enough to set us free.